Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is called to order at 7 p.m. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals hearing for December of 2021. Y'all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Wilkening?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Bungie will be joining via Zoom. Mr. Rakupitos?
Here.
Ms. Murr? Here. Ms. Abernathy present. Mr. Austin is currently absent.
All right, thank you. Regarding the minutes from November 2021 meeting, do we have any additions or corrections that need to be made?
I'm good with it.
Good. All right, entertaining a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by John, seconded by Jerry. Roll call.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Rakupitos?
Yes. All right. Motion carries 4-0. Okay. We're going to start with new business here. Item number 1, Wahlberg 7309 to 7319 Lakeshore Drive, variance of use. The owner being S&N LLC, 739 South Arbogast Street in Griffith, Indiana 46319. The petitioner is Fred Wahlberg, 739 South Arbogast Street, Griffith, Indiana 46319. The property being in the vicinity of 7309 through 7319 Lakeshore Drive. The petitioner is requesting a variance of use to allow a residential zoning use of R2 on lots zoned neighborhood business B1. We do not have counselor present, so we'll just have to have everything pending legal review tonight, any decisions. So we have petitioner for this item. Can you guys please state your name and address for the record?
Yes. Fred Wahlberg, 5706 West 133rd Avenue, Crown Point.
Jeff Wahlberg, 7315 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And please explain your petition.
I'm interested in acquiring the property, and in order to do so, the banks want to see either the property being rezoned residential or a variance to allow for residential living in the property.
So you currently do not own the property, you say?
Correct. I currently rent it from S&N LLC, and we're working on changing that so I can purchase it.
Okay. All right, Jill?
So, trying to purchase the property and get a residential mortgage versus a commercial mortgage. That property was the Wahlberg Photography Studio and always had an apartment in it that was occupied. So this is passing down through the family. It did go to Plan Commission for rezone. However, they recommended going for a variance of use based on our comprehensive plan and the plan in the area.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct? John?
Yeah, right, we wanted to keep it commercial.
Okay.
That's zone commercial, we wanted to keep it commercial. But with a variance, I believe the bank would work with this gentleman out. If we give him a variance so he can live in it.
Okay.
You know, right? And then the bank will work with them. And I don't see any problems with any of the criteria we have to meet.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Absolutely, Jerry.
Someone's living there now, correct?
I am. I live there.
You're living there now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is so your plans are to fix it up?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a timeline for that of some kind?
I don't currently, there's not a whole lot I can do, you know, as far as deciding, you know, what's going to be fixed up or what's going to be done until I actually own it. You know, then I can develop a timeline based on.
So speculating, you'll be done remodeling it in 2 years?
I would say 2 to 3, hopefully, is what I would think. 2 to 3 years.
Well, outside is more what we're interested in, because, we don't see the inside. but-
I'm very much more interested in the outside too. I wanna definitely make that look a lot better. Yeah.
So this is, the de-zoning is consistent with our master plan, then, that was the bottom line.
But,
To keep,
right,
to keep
Yes.
the zone, okay,
right.
We wanted him to be able to do what he wanted to do, we just had to figure out how to get the
gotcha,
bank on board.
okay, all
Well,
right.
my question was, I was under the understanding that you were just gonna rent there and not buy it.
No,
I'm currently renting there. No, I want to acquire it. We wanna pass it down in the family.
And if we approve this variance, that'll carry with the land? Or,
Yes,
it'll carry, so when he buys it, that variance will go with it?
correct.
Well,
Right, so I don't wanna do something here, and then in 6 months, he has to come back in or do something,
Well, if it is determined by us to allow this, or a favorable recommendation, I think we have to make that clear, because in the past, these things stayed with the petitioner, use variances. So if we wanna make sure that it maintains the use, we would have to make sure it stays with the property instead. We'd have to spell that out, I guess, in the motion, is what I'm saying. Because
If the use as residential was to ever stop for a period longer than 6 months,
then
it would revert back to the B1 zoning. And in your packet, I also included the same thing I had included with the plan commission, showing the zonings of the parcels around this property that are current, which are primarily all R2.
Right.
I have a question for you, Jill. If this were to be allowed to have R2 use, variance of use, would R2 developmental standards apply to it
Yes.
during that time?
Yes,
Okay,
because it would be being used as an R2.
okay. That's something to keep in mind as well.
So this is gonna be a single-family residence?
Yes.
Okay.
The downstairs, are you gonna move downstairs then after remodel, or what's
Um,
the downstairs gonna wind up being?
We'll expand onto it. Currently, the store area of the building is storage, cold storage. There's no heat or anything out there. We'll expand onto it to make it somewhat livable.
For you,
Yes,
not
yes.
for another tenant?
Correct, no, not just for me. Yeah, just for me.
All right. Ready, or, go ahead, Jerry.
You said something about 3 years, but since we don't know exactly what your plans are, is that,
Yeah, some ideas that I had for cleaning it up, there's a portion in the back that, probably needs to come down because it's pretty old. It's dug deeper than the rest of the building, and so, I know when we have the big rains around here, it usually floods down there. So we were considering taking the back part of that down and filling it in and turn it into an extended patio. In the front, of course, remove the sign and the store area, possibly maybe turn that into a garage down the road.
I'd kinda like to see a plan, so we can
it's-
give it a reasonable timeline.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to develop one when you don't own it, it's,
But you know the property very well.
I live there, yes, I know the property.
Yeah,
But in order to do that, either has to go to staff and get the permit, and if there's anything weird about it, then he has to come to plan commission, correct?
Plan commission or BZA, depending on what is
He wants to do it.
right.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So we-
he has,
we have-
otherwise he would have to
Yeah,
meet the
so we
R2 guidelines.
have
Yeah.
control over
For any
completion.
improvement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of my hang-up, is that, you guys are heading in the right direction with this, because the master plan is calling for that to be business, and we want to keep that business, but they want to use it as residential. But when if they got a favorable recommendation and approval by town council, they could, their development, whatever they decide to do there, adding on and all that, will follow now residential guidelines instead of business. So maybe having a good plan from them would be smart going forward, I don't really have an issue with them using it the way that they're using it, but the standards will all be run off of R2 instead of B1 from here on
Everything
out.
around there, Nick, is R2. It's,
Yeah, I got
that
you.
one parcel is zoned business.
Right, I
The
got
rest of
you.
it there, 2 or 3 each way is residential.
Right. Well, you guys have any questions for the petitioner?
No, I think, would you be good with some kind of, once you get a loan for, I mean, do you anticipate owning it in 6 months?
Hopefully within that. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So, within 6 months, submit a plan, something that would, fit a three-year completion?
I could attempt that, yeah, I could see.
Yeah, I think,
You know, one thing I will always do is, you know, try to appease you guys and try to make sure you guys,
yeah, no,
are
we
content with
want you to
it.
be able to do something with it,
Sure.
so, I have nothing else.
Okay. Have a quick seat, gentlemen, if you don't mind. I'm gonna call for any remonstrators out there for or against this variance. Anyone here for or against the variance? Jill, did you have anything online?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
Mr. Bundy with us?
No, he is not.
Okay.
Okay, the public portion's closed. Gentlemen, please step back up. Did you have anything else for us, Jill?
Just one thing, I believe if you grant the variance of use, he has to exercise that within 1 year, so he would have to apply for a permit to do those improvements within a year. Otherwise, the variance would not be exercised.
Okay.
So that might be something to
Yeah,
consider when you're discussing a timeline.
yeah, I just, you know, taking the sign down and things, it's a residence, you know, or making a special use residence, that's why I was thinking there be some things that need to be done.
And you guys do intend to do that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it can be a condition tonight of an approval too, if we're that adamant about it.
That's the biggest thing that kind of makes that building look unattractive is that ugly sign in front of it. So taking that down would be the first thing to happen.
So you guys are okay, potentially sending a favorable recommendation and then getting a timeline after the fact?
Well, like Jerry said, in 6 months, to come back with a plan that would show some sort of a completion date within 3 years, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
Or even if you had to push it to say 8 months, because I don't know if you could start working on the plans of that until he owns it. I'm sure he can. So 6 months should be enough. But he still has a year to get the permit, so the onus falls on him to start the project within a year, otherwise he'd be back in front of us.
And if he waits that long, then you have 2 more years
Yeah,
to get it complete.
yeah. So,
Okay.
the onus falls on him if we approve this tonight.
I'm just a little unclear on this, Jill, because all they're asking is to use it as residential. So as soon as they purchase it, they'd be using it as residential, whether they pull the permit or not, right? So what would actually expire here?
Well, your use is residential, and he's saying he's going to fix it up
Mm-hmm.
as a residential property and use it as residential. If he doesn't apply for any permits to do any repairs,
That's technically not being
wouldn't it just
used.
revert back to business?
I don't know.
Well, it's already being used as residential.
Correct. The residential use, I don't think ever discontinued in that.
Right.
I mean, it's
I
been
agree.
well before we were a town.
Right.
I did some searching.
So me personally, I don't really see anything expiring here unless he pulls a permit, then they're gonna expire. Which at that point, you can renew it at the discretion of building department, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But if you continue to use it as is and do nothing,
Right.
which is not the goal here.
That's
He said-
why I bring it up.
Yeah, and he said he has intentions of some remodeling, so
Right. Okay.
I'd like to make sure that stays on track.
That's why I'm bringing it up. We'd have to make a decision here tonight to make sure that stayed on track. If we just expect people just to come in on their own so many months down the line if we get approval.
Yeah, that's not
Oh,
gonna
we'll put verbiage in the motion. Put verbiage in motion, that'll go to town council, and then, it'll be part of the approval.
Make sure there's a safeguard in there that we get it all
Right.
done right. Okay.
Which Jerry's good at making those.
But you have some questions?
You got anything for him, Ray? You-
No, I think we'll throw some contingencies or something in there just to make sure it all comes back around and, you know, it's a little wide open right now,
Yeah.
understanding what's going on.
And they're all in agreement on what we talked about, so.
Yeah.
Well, as Jerry's over there doodling, you gentlemen have anything else to add? No?
That's basically it.
That's all we're trying to do.
Okay. All right. So this will be a recommendation to the town council.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion regarding Wahlberg Lakeshore Drive variance of use.
Yes,
I'd like to send a favorable recommendation to the town council to allow the R2 zoning special use, to allow special use of R2 on a B1, in a B1 zoning property, to remain as a single-family dwelling, and the submission of a remodeling plan within 6 months, with a completion of the remodeling in 36 months. You guys think that's all right?
Sound like what we were talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
36 months from,
Now,
6 months or from now?
from now,
From now.
yeah. If they still got a year, then they got 2 years.
Yeah, 36 months from the state.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine.
With findings of fact.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Jerry, seconded by John, to send a favorable recommendation to the town council to allow variance of use for R2 zoning use on lots zoned neighborhood business B1 zoning for the structure to remain a single-family home, and with the contingencies that the petitioners submit a remodeling plan within 6 months and completion of remodeling plan to take place within 36 months to include the findings of fact. You guys understand the motion?
Yes.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Welkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes,
Mr. Recupera?
Yes? And still no Jeff?
No, sir.
Okay. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, guys.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for clarity on that one, the submission of the plan is to the BZA or to the building department? Thank you. Just want to make sure. Actually, if you could add that in the minutes, please.
Since we really don't know what the plans are,
Right.
they need to submit something.
Okay. Item number 2 of new business is Cedar Lake Storage. Owner petitioner, Cedar Lake Storage LLC, Tim Porter, 9019 West 133rd Avenue in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Property being in the vicinity of the same. This request is a special use variance amendment to allow the petitioner an extension of time to complete the projects consistent with the project phasing timeline approved by the Plan Commission with their site plan, amending the time of 1 year to complete the projects to complete Phase 1 by June 30th, 2022, and Phase 2 by September 15th, 2024. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Chris Porter, property 9019 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake.
Okay. And let us know what's going on.
Just as you stated, we are requesting an extension for the special use variance to coincide with the approval we have from the Plan Commission and the site plan for our phasing on Phase 1 to be completed by June 30th, 2022, and Phase 2 to be completed by September 15th, 2024.
Okay. Thank you. Jill?
Consistent with what was read and what Chris stated, in January of 2021, their variance to have a storage facility was approved. One of the conditions the BZA put on there was completion of the project, and within 1 year, with 1 year to complete the project by a vote of 4 in favor and 0 against. So in order to complete the project, there was a phasing schedule. Some of it had to do with weather and getting the plat approved. So their use doesn't expire to have the storage facility. We wanted it to line up with the completion timeline of the paving and the improvements that were approved with their site plan.
Okay. All right. Plan Commissioner?
Yeah, I was gonna say, they
Yeah.
may
Yeah.
have some more to offer.
Yeah. Whoever would like to take this one, where are we at? Or where have we been?
There was.
We've been all over.
We've been around the world.
I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah, it seems as though the BZA and the Planning Commission, the approvals did not mesh.
Okay.
So they have till June 30th to get the Phase 1 blacktopping done, I believe. And the only hard surface under roof use is still in effect.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this will help wind that up a little bit.
Okay, so,
It's kind of a technicality.
okay, so we're getting blacktop.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was a big thing for me when this thing came to us with this approval that's getting ready to expire, was that it got blacktop, so. Phase one would be your roadside blacktop along with like a retention pond or a drainage area?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second phase would be finishing the paving along the back half of the lot?
Correct.
Okay. You guys are all good with it because you guys approved it, so.
Yeah, and the only part you can use is to pave, right,
Okay.
for storage, outside storage.
And any other hard surfaces that exist.
Okay, cool.
Any hard surfaces in Phase 1 can be used for storage.
Okay.
Additionally, we do have a letter of credit from Cedar Lake Storage for those improvements to be completed within this timeline.
Okay, good.
So there is some surety behind what
Yeah.
is
But-
being requested.
And the storage, the partial storage for the phases still has to have delineated spaces.
Correct.
Well,
There was
thanks.
a lot of work done by the Planning
Well,
Commission and by Mr. Porter there and his group to get to this point.
Yeah.
And it was a tough one, but we got it worked.
No, I was gonna, if I had a hat, I'd tip it to all you guys, because this was all a sticking point to several of us, and I'm glad it all got worked out, and you're able to get your business rolling here, so. You got anything for him, Ray?
What's the timeline from Blacktop? What are you thinking?
Phase 1 is to be completed by June 30th, 2022, and Phase 2 is to be completed by September 15th, 2024.
No, I'm good. I think that's the last kind of conversation I remember. We were kind of hung up on the Blacktop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, Mr. Porter, have a seat, please. Do we have any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone for or against? Jill, anything online?
No, sir?
Okay. Public portion is closed. Mr. Porter, please step back up. All right, seems pretty good to me. Glad to see us finally turning the page on all this. Yeah, you are too, I'm sure. All right. So this here would be another, recommendation to the town council.
I'll make a motion, we send a favorable recommendation, to the town council for special use variance amended. This allowed the petitioner an extension of time to complete the project consistent with the project phasing timeline approved by the Plan Commission with their site plan. Amending the time of 1 year to complete the project, to complete phase 1 by June 30th, 2022, and phase 2 by September 15th, 2024, with the finding of facts.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, motion by John, seconded by Ray to, send a favorable recommendation to the town council, to allow the special use variance amendment, allowing the petitioner an extension of time to complete the projects consistent with the project phasing timeline approved by the Plan Commission with their site plan, amending the time of 1 year to complete the projects to complete phase 1 by June 30th, 2022, and phase 2 by September 15th, 2024, including the findings of fact. You understand the motion, Mr. Porter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Welkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Wakupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Item number 3 of new business is sign owner petitioner Richard and Kristen sign 12725 Maple Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana 46303, property being in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build an addition with a 1,100 square foot attached garage in an R2 zoning district. You have a petitioner for this item. Can we please have you state your name and address for the record?
Richard Stein, 12396 Sullivan Court, Quail Point.
No.
We just moved.
We don't live there anymore.
Are you really the signs, or are you guys imposters?
10342 Clare Street in Crown Point.
You catch that, Ashley? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I like that you looked at her for what your address.
Yeah.
I every text, every day. What's our address again?
You know where you are.
And your petition, folks?
We are looking to add a 3-car garage with living space above it to a very small house that we bought on Maple Street.
Okay. Joe?
The reason this is in front of you is because the existing R2 zoning allows for an 864 square foot garage. This being a 3-car garage and 1,100 square feet is what is bringing the variance in front of you. Lot
And we were looking
coverage,
to do 36
setbacks.
by 30.
are all good.
Okay.
We're at 17.1% lot coverage. They acquired other parcels in the area to make up a larger lot. You know, it still would have to go through building permit approvals, but the existing house, there's some pictures in the packet, as well as they provided a picture and I put some additional pictures. On the iPads, you would have to close it out and go into the sign folder.
Yeah.
They have a survey in there that shows the layout.
This thing, it's like we're on dial-up here tonight or something with these pictures, at least on mine.
You guys own lot 42. You also
We
own
own, yeah,
lot
we own
41.
2. We
You own
bought 6
41?
parcels.
Okay, so you own 42, because part of your house is on there.
Yeah.
You own 41, 40, and 39?
Yes.
And 13.
And 13.
Right. And 13, okay, all right.
It
Oh,
goes
yeah,
all
got
the
it,
way back
got
to
it.
the street behind us.
Okay, got it.
Which way is this addition going?
It's,
Where the white picket fence is?
yeah, it's just gonna run along the front. We're gonna tie in to add on to that itty bitty little house.
Yeah, see the plans here.
Why do you need that much garage?
Oh, 3 Jeeps, my daughter has a car, 3 dirt bikes, a road bike project, gym equipment, brewing equipment, lawn equipment.
Need a bigger garage.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you.
It's already too small.
Yeah.
Sounds like it might.
There's nowhere to park a car on that street. It's a pretty narrow street.
You have no garage at all.
No, there's no
garage at
garage.
all now.
Jill, with this will be attached, obviously. Is there still the option of detached accessory structures with this?
They could, as long as they don't exceed lot coverage.
This lot coverage? Okay.
And setback requirements.
Okay.
And they have plenty of room. If there wasn't a garage here, they could put this addition on, no problem.
Correct. And actually,
Or if the
if
garage
the new
was,
zoning ordinance gets passed, they wouldn't even need a variance.
And this is, what size doors are you guys gonna have on it, height-wise?
We haven't even gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
Oh, somebody knows.
No,
I'm
really
sure,
don't,
I'm sure, yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't know his address, how's he going back?
right?
Jill would know. You know,
We haven't even gotten to that point yet. I'm sure our contractor has kind of worked some things out. We're still waiting on things from the architect. It's been one step forward, two steps back with us. We purchased this in June.
This goes to the building department for approval then?
No, this would be our decision, Ray, whether we approve this or not, and then they would have to go through permitting, and all their ducks would have to be in a row, and they would have to check out with the building department too, but as far as approval to build this, that goes through us tonight.
so they can't have sidewalls higher than 10 feet. Otherwise, it would require another variance.
I would think, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
But when upstairs, it's gonna be higher than 10 feet.
for the first floor. Are you referring to the first floor?
The garage,
Yeah.
garage walls won't be higher than 10 feet. Can't be.
The garage is south, but doesn't it take into effect the upstairs?
I don't know, sidewall height of the building.
Would the 10 feet include the second story? I mean, or just on the garage?
Just on the garage,
Just on the garage?
the first story.
Yeah, our contractor had checked everything out, and he said the build would be 4 feet below maximum height.
Well, that's the overall height, but what
Right,
we're
right.
getting at though is,
Garage.
the garages, when they have sidewall heights of 10 feet or more, that invites car hoists. And, that gets into a whole nother, not making your neighbors happy.
I wasn't planning on putting a car away.
Wait, did you get that for Christmas? That's why we're asking about that.
Are you putting all 3 cars in the garage?
I'd like to, yeah.
And the dirt bike.
It's 30 feet deep, that's nice, steep garage. You can have a workbench, and you can walk around things,
And I'm assuming that second level is all gonna be incorporated to the existing house, all living space
It's
up
gonna be
there?
like a tri-level without a rec room,
Okay,
basically. All the bedrooms are gonna be moved up over the garage. It's gonna be 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a laundry room. We've already gutted the main house. It's gonna be just one big open concept living room and kitchen,
okay. All right,
with your approval.
okay. All right.
We're kind
Just
of
so you
homeless.
know, Maple Street is a dead-end road. So it
Yeah.
doesn't go through, there is limited parking on the street. A garage would take 3 cars off the street. And
It's very narrow. Really, it's almost impossible to
you
get
can
2
really
cars
only
down
fit
the road at
one
the same
car
time.
in front of the house.
Mhm.
And I have a small car. You might be able to fit 2 of mine, but
Okay.
we'll put 2 Jeeps on top of each other.
And we have 3 of those.
what's your timeline to have this all done?
Looking to break ground, the contractor won't even touch anything till probably beginning of March. He says about 12 weeks from that point. In time for boating season.
That's always good. Keeping everything inside is always good.
It's voting season during duck season out here, so I don't know, it's kinda year round.
You gotta stay in the boat though, otherwise it gets dangerous.
All right, could I ask you folks to have a seat, please? And, I'm gonna call for any remonstrators for or against this variance. Anyone for or against the variance out there? Jill, do you have anything online?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. The public portion's closed. Folks, please step back up. You have anything else for us, Jill?
No, sir. Other than this one, when they came in for their building permit application, the size of the garage is what triggered the variance request in front of you.
So when you said that the zoning ordinance change is going to allow stuff like this, what is it going to change to?
So it changed from allowing 864 square feet of garage space in an R2 zoning district to 1,100 square feet in an R2 zoning district.
Okay,
So this variance wouldn't have, if the zoning ordinance gets approved this month, this point wouldn't even be in front of you. So
gotcha. Okay, well, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Is this over by MacArthur?
no, this is over back behind Shane's.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we're used to these things.
Oh, he'll be back.
I hope so.
All right, do you guys have any other questions or comments, suggestions for the petitioners?
No?
We're still Jeffless?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's nothing to do with us.
In this area, they did do what you were looking for as far as your zoning ordinance goes in non-conforming uses in the older subdivisions, getting additional parcels to make the parcel wider,
Okay.
to make it a little larger, so.
Good. I like the lot coverage being low, that's nice.
I have it at 17.1%.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So this will be a board decision, this developmental variance. If anyone has a motion, I'll entertain it.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion regarding the developmental variance. I'd like to make a motion, we grant the variance to allow the petitioner to build an addition with 1,100 square foot attached garage in an R2 zoning district with the findings of fact.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, motion made by Jerry, seconded by Ray, to allow this developmental variance, allowing the petitioner to build an addition with a 1,100 square foot attached garage in an R2 zoning district, and to include the findings of fact. We understand the motion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Pecora?
Yes,
Mr. Yakubuda?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Welcome to the town, too.
Thank you.
Item number 4, item number 4 of new business is Horton Developmental Variance. Owner petitioner Sherry Horton, 14425 Dragus Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. Property is in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to replace an existing fence in the front yard setback of a corner lot along Riskin Road. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Sherry Horton, 14425 Dragus Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
It's an existing fence, and I didn't know I had a problem with it. And walking around the whole neighborhood, there's a couple of homes that are similar to mine. I'm on a corner lot, and the way that the builder put the fence was right up with the property line. And my neighbors never seem to complain to me. In fact, they're on my property. So,
Your neighbors are on your property? Or?
they got 2 trees and a shed on my property. And the guy that came out and inspected my property, he says, yeah, he says, now I know why you don't want to put your fence all the way up there. I don't know what to do about it.
Get a lawyer?
I don't want to cause no rush. Do I need the 5 feet? No. I'd rather have a nice neighbor. but they're trashy, and their kids will get into my stuff, and I just need a fence for my dog.
So you're just replacing the existing fence and
It's
it's,
been over there over 22 years,
okay,
yeah.
you got your money's worth.
This is the fence in the front yard?
Yes.
I
The fence was originally installed in 1993. I pulled the permit and the application. When they built the fence, they followed the line of the house on the angle. So now you have this weird corner piece that it's literally a few feet of this little triangle. If you look at the survey I included in your packet,
That's what we're off by.
they followed, instead of following the building line, when they built the fence, they followed the house line.
Okay.
See, it should have followed the dotted line instead it went past it a couple feet.
Well, it was wise that you didn't tear it down first.
Right.
Oh, well,
So there
And
is.
that's a whole nother mess.
They're past the building line, they're not in the easement, but they're.
I've already
they're
put
past
money
the building
down,
line a
cap
couple
on
feet.
a
There's a
fence,
road here.
so there'll be a new
Where's the
fence,
building line?
so we have to come up with a solution so I can have a
See
fence.
how kind of cuts it on an angle?
I got it,
Yeah.
I got it.
This is gonna be exactly where the other one is.
Exactly, there's
Exactly.
no, yeah, they're shaving that, the post right off, they're covering it with dirt, and then they're gonna put the fence right on top of that.
They're, so she's there because of that little triangle?
Yes. It crosses over the building line. The building department, Tony reviewed this. He's the one who gave it to me. Michelle and I did some digging. We found the old permit application with the survey.
93, wow. You're
So
good.
it's
I'm
nice.
just gonna say that the fence originally only cost $800, so you're not gonna replace it right now.
That's the gate, no?
You're good.
The building department and
So
Yeah, I
the,
got some
we
old
have
stuff.
no,
I got
we
some
have
old-
no issues with this or line of sight. I did go out and take some additional pictures, which are in the separate folder for Ms. Horton.
Okay, yeah, I'm taking a look at those.
I have a few things from that time period I need you to find. I'll send it to you.
I wanna know about the Wahlbergs. How historical are they?
Florence used to live in that building. Florence Wahlberg, the mother used to live in the apartment at the photography studio.
So we're talking 1900s.
Probably. It's been
She
there
was,
for,
she was in
I
her
love
nineties.
the history.
She was in her nineties when she died, and that's probably been 20 years ago, so.
Wow. Been there forever.
so the choice is to grant her request or
or her fence will have to be
remove.
removed to line up with the building line instead of staying in line with the house.
How much square footage is that? Any idea?
I honestly did not calculate it.
Half the base
Very-
times the height. Half the base times the height.
Is there a problem,
It's not much, right?
It's probably not even a whole fence panel.
Oh, okay.
is there a problem if you had to put it on the line? Or are you just doing this because it's already there and
To
Yeah.
put it on the line.
on the building
That
line?
particular, the variance?
Yeah, that stretch from the, I wanna say northwest corner of the house to the property
Well,
line?
it exposes underneath of my porch. I can't move the porch.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see it now, it's
And
attached to the home.
And I am really out there, I mean, I invade my neighbor's privacy by being on my back porch, because I can
Where-
see them in their
The-
front
the- The
yard.
deck technically is not.
But I
not
didn't
where it's
build
supposed
it,
to
I
be.
can't move it.
Right, no, I see that now, I'm sorry, I didn't see that on the survey.
You know, she got to move the house.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It will
Alright,
not have any negative impacts on line of sight on that corner.
okay,
Yeah, that was my next question.
alright.
I don't see a problem with it.
Ray, do you have anything for us right
No,
now?
I don't see, I mean, it's been there for forever, so I don't see a lot of challenges.
Okay.
I'd be more interested in getting your other property back from the neighbor, if anything.
Really? It's 5 feet, they got rocks and trees on it.
That, like fences, may make good neighbors.
Yeah, All right, ma'am, just please have a quick seat for us. Are there any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone for or against the variance? Jill?
No, sir.
Okay, public portion is closed. Please step back up, ma'am. Anything else from you, Jill?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, it's working fine where it's at. I understand the issue with the deck, that's an issue. But this slipped through the cracks somehow many years ago, huh?
I think they followed the building line of the house
Yeah.
when they inspected it. If you look at, I can share it with you if you like, wherever I just put it. It would have been the opposite if they had actually built the fence the way they had originally intended. They would have been across the building line on the other side of the house.
Yeah. No. I don't think anything.
So where they follow the house here,
Mhm.
it's this corner
Right.
instead of being this side,
I found them later.
When they applied for it.
Oh, I got you.
When they originally applied for it, there was no variance, so.
Okay, all right.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Thank you for
sir.
doing the homework, Jill.
Jerry Wilson.
Thank you for doing the homework. You're welcome.
I was old enough, I was old enough this time. Not old enough.
I know I was.
I know it was wild, man.
Yeah.
Game by game.
Alright. So this will be a board decision, it's a developmental variance. Entertaining a motion.
I'll make a motion to, approve the developmental variance to allow the petitioner to replace an existing fence in the front yard setback of a corner lot along Riskin Road, per finding of facts. One question, you replace it with what kind of fence?
Wooden,
A wooden fence?
a wooden fence.
Okay.
I can't see spending $10,000 on plastic.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
Thanks, John.
I'll second that.
Second.
Findings of fact.
Okay. Motion by John, seconded by Jerry to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to replace an existing fence in the front yard setback of a corner lot along Riskin Road to include the findings of fact. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Purpura?
Yes.
Mr. Repubito?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 5 of new business is Bowman Developmental Variance. Owner petitioner Darren Bowman, 10001 West 113th Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. The property being in the vicinity of 13505 Dewey Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to replace a previously removed chain link fence and install a 6-foot chain link fence in the front yards of a through lot. Setback 1 foot to 3 1/2 foot along Dewey Street and Lee Street. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Darren Bowman, 10,001 West 113th Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
All right, and the reason for your petition?
So when I bought this property, it was like an abandoned house, and the fence was just full of overgrowth and branches and trees, and I didn't know. I thought it would just be easier, because, I mean, even the posts were wrapped with trees, you know? So when I tore all that out, in my mind, I was gonna replace the fence, but then I found out, well, now I didn't realize that what I was doing when I did it, that now I needed a permit, and then the permit turned into a variance.
Okay. So the fence is no longer there?
Some of the poles are still existing, but the chain link itself it's gone.
All right, Jill, what do you have for us?
So this is a older home. I was able to find a picture on Lake County records where there was an existing fence in the front yard, which is in your meeting packet. Mr. Bowman provided a survey from 2019, that does show that there was a fence on the south property line and a chain link fence on the north property line, as well as, nope, that's over. It does not show chain link fence on either side of Lee Street or Dewey, thank you. It shows where the fence corners were. One fence corner was 1.2 inches. The other one was 2 feet from Lee Street.
1.2 inches?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
That's why I highlighted them on the survey enclosed in your packet.
Okay, I'm just trying to get these to load up.
Oh, the pictures?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time.
Sorry, there were a lot of them.
That's not sorry, I like more information.
Mr. Bowman provided some, I went out, took some, Tony took some. Dewey Street is a 10-foot right-of-way. Lee Street is a 12-foot right-of-way. Those are some very narrow streets. And I know it takes a while to load those pictures. I was trying something different with the iPads tonight, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just.
Ashley will work with me, and we'll see if we can find a different way so those will load a little quicker.
What, do you know which file Jill or Ashley would include the proposed fence with the survey? Do we have that on here? The actual survey with the fence where it's proposed to be?
The proposed fence would be in your meeting packet itself.
In the packet?
Mhm. It's the actual survey, sorry, what page am I at? Page 22.
22?
Looks similar to this.
Okay. Okay.
That's why it was roughly 1 to 3.5 feet. The road's at an angle there, if you can look. Here on the GIS, there's some angle there. You could see where kind of the roadway varies a little bit here. So you go from the corner on Dewey in a little bit. There were some existing posts there, so a chain link fence had been there at one point.
Okay.
Is that a through lot?
Yes, and it's used as a through lot.
Okay. Are there gonna be any gates?
Of
course there'd be gates.
Right, I was thinking of a slide gate so that, you know, in the winter, the snow, obviously if I'm on the exterior trying to push it in, you know, you're fighting the snow, and then to move it out into the street, that's just a nuisance for everybody. So I was thinking slide gates.
Okay. And what side would you have those on?
Well, there's only on the north corner, east and west, I guess,
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Along Lee Street there?
along Lee and Dewey,
Okay,
because the driveway goes all the way through.
okay. Yeah, I know there's a couple of them up there where the fences are close to the road, where they swing out into the road, and
Yeah, I
you
know.
gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're sitting out in the road.
You're gonna replace that with chain link?
I would like to, because I don't wanna, you know, there's limited view right there that I have anyway, so I wanted to keep it open. But I also wanted to keep, my issue is, like, I'm still working on the place, so they've stole my Weber grill, they've smashed the picnic table, they took a picnic table, they've taken all my firewood, once or twice. They've taken my new garbage cans with the light blue lids. They plow their snow into my driveway. So when I go there in the wintertime, there's a mound. The guy who just moved out next door, he put his pod in the driveway, the storage pod, to move his, from the house there. I mean, this is not public free-for-all. People park there. If somebody gets hurt there, who are they gonna call? You know what's gonna happen. So I just need to keep them, you know, protect.
Does the ordinance say no chain link in the front yard?
It does, so that's why, one of the reasons why he's here is that he wants to put in chain link. The other is the setbacks.
I understand the setbacks, other houses along there have been south that far, right?
Right.
Picture.
The fence on the south side is still my existing fence that goes within a foot of the road. Actually, my property stakes are in the road, so Cedar Lake has their road, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because it's narrow up there.
What was that original fence? Looks like, was it just a 4-foot tall?
It was, 5 foot, I believe.
5 foot?
Yes. Because I think that the one, but I'm asking for 6, I'll match what's there. I didn't know if 5 would be available, and I've been talking to some people, so maybe I can get 5.
Well, 5 is what the
This is what's on the
Sure.
south side right now.
The Shore Association put up,
It's 5 foot?
yeah, that
Okay.
black coated fence.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was 5 foot.
Yeah,
They
I was
just
just
put that
matching.
up last
Because
year.
that would make sense, like I say, my fence that's on the south side is already there, I didn't have to touch that. So I wouldn't want the corner to be, you know what I mean, unless I had to replace that one too.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for the petitioner right now?
No, I have a question for Jill.
Absolutely.
Do we have any correspondence of any kind from any public officials because of the narrow roads and the setbacks and things like that?
Yes, we do have,
Right.
an email from the fire chief. I didn't know if you wanted that during remonstration.
Well, I just know plowing snow, as Mr. Bowman had said, is quite challenging up there for anyone, whether it's his neighbors putting it where it's not supposed to be or the town trying not to ruin people's property. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, feel free to share it,
So-
unless you have other remonstrance too that you go away.
I have that here.
Okay.
I have another public comment as well.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we're gonna get to that right now, actually, if you don't mind.
Mr. Bowman, is this your primary residence, or is this
This is where I
house?
intend to live eventually, yes, but it's not right now.
Okay.
There's nobody living there at all, that's just empty right now?
Right, that's correct. And that's the problem, see, since I'm not there, they come and just take whatever I leave out. They use the place, like I said, the guy put a moving pod there, the storage pod. Really? I mean,
You okay now, Phil?
Yeah, go ahead. I was
Okay.
trying to get one of the pictures so that I wanted to make sure I showed you guys.
and it's not
If you go into
inconsistent with
the
the rest of the
pictures I
neighborhood. Everyone
provided,
has
the
this
one
chain
that's
link, you know what I
labeled
mean?
6 south facing lake,
Okay.
that'll show you some of the existing fence posts that are there.
See this?
Hey, and I'll make them low resolution pictures. Ashley's gonna teach me that as well.
Okay.
I even took one picture with my boot in it, so you know I took it. But that one will take too long to load. Mr. Bowman also provided about 15 pictures.
Okay, so this is the north side, okay. All right, and those posts will all be, if this was given approval, they would all be replaced with brand new posts?
I'm hoping to, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my intention, if I can do it, because there's no sense in trying to use a bent, you know.
Right, okay. All right, Mr. Bowman, can you have a seat, please? We're gonna ask for any remonstrance. Is there anybody out there for or against this variance? Anyone for or against the variance? Jill, what do you have?
Nothing online. I have an email from your fire chief, that he was asked to look at this request for a fence. And he has a very difficult time in the past with the setback up there. The approval of this will make it difficult to maneuver, being the setback is so close to the road. Unfortunately, I have to speak against this request. We have in the past done a test in the area to see if they can maneuver around, before changes are approved. And he referenced the exact request that is in your meeting packet, from your fire chief, Scott Wilson.
Okay,
And then, bear with me.
sure.
I received an email from Mr. Lordo, and I apologize, I thought I had added it to the package. Let me pull it up
I didn't
now.
see.
I thought I had put it in there, unless I'm just overlooking it.
Let's see. I don't see it here.
Jacob Lordo resides at 13500 Dewey Street, which is across the street, and additionally, he had just been in front of you last month for a garage on the parcel next door. He was unable to attend the meeting, consider his written objection to the request of the petitioner, Darren Bowman of 10001 West 113th Avenue, to erect a 6-foot chain link fence in the front yards of a through lot along Dewey Street, located at 13505 Dewey Street. The basis of his objection stands in line with current town ordinance 496, Title 21, Section 1A8. Fences shall not be constructed of chain link wire or equivalent type of material adjacent to any street. I believe this ordinance was adopted with the aesthetic improvement of Cedar Lake in mind, and to allow this variance would be a violation of just that. Chain link fences are almost never used in residential applications any longer due to their unsightly appearance that act as hotbeds for heavy unsightly vegetation growth, to include poison ivy and poison oak. As a Cedar Lake resident with high hopes of the continued progressive development of the town, I would ask that this variance request be denied and reconsidered if the petitioner is willing to erect a fence with more residential-friendly materials such as cedar picket or vinyl. Thank you for considering my neighborly concerns, Jake Bordeaux.
Thank you, Joe. Was that it? Was that all you had?
The other one was, Tony, our building inspector, was out there today and had concerns that there was an open permit from 2020 to do remodel improvements that has never had any inspections on it.
Okay. That's everything?
And there's 2 accessory structures on the property. One was existing, as you can see on the survey from when Mr. Bowman purchased the property. There are 2 accessory structures there, and the second accessory structure never had a variance for it, and one of them, both have been setbacks. One of them had been moved at one point. It doesn't match up with where the survey happened.
Okay. All right, Joe, thank you. The public portion is closed. Mr. Bowman, please step back up. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that, or?
Well, let's just go backwards and reverse. So the shed, I wasn't aware that I needed, and that's only temporary. Right now, I have lumber in there, and when I'm done with that, eventually I want to build a garage there if I can, get rid of both sheds. As far as the inspections, he was there. It is an old permit, I admit that, but he was there to inspect the inside, because I had it completely gutted, and I tore out the load-bearing walls and beamed it out and posted it. He came to look at that, and the only thing that he picked me on when he was there to that is I didn't have headers over the windows, but I told him that the headers weren't going to matter because I was going to move the locations of the windows, so that I would put headers in at that point, and then I just haven't, not to blame COVID, but COVID hit, and then hard times, and I haven't done anything since on that.
So is the permit expired then right now? Is it expired, the building permit?
They said they were going to, they contacted me, I think it was in June, and they said they were going to contact me again in November, and I didn't contact them, nor did I hear, so I'm not, it is expired.
Okay.
And then, if I don't want to talk bad about people.
Well, so Chief had an issue with just navigating equipment up there. That was the sticking point, right, with the setbacks?
Correct.
Okay.
What's, across the street, is there a fence? What street are we talking about, Lee or Dewey?
Well, across the street on Lee, there's fence on both sides. Like where my fence is north and south, or I mean east and west, my south fence, they continue, the neighbor does, and then across the street. Same thing in Dewey, there's a fence across the street, and that fence continues.
Did Chief say anything about how much footage is needed for that fire truck?
No, he did not. You have a 10-foot street and a 12-foot street up there.
So.
He has an issue with the way it was requested of being, what did I put, 1 foot to 3.5 feet along Dewey and Lee. So it would have to be further back than that.
The reason we went with, or, because that's where the corners are now. You know, I just measured where the post is to the street, and then same thing on north and south ends.
But we have to keep safety in mind.
No, I understand, I'm not just saying the reason that those.
That's one thing we would have to abide by, you know, and if we were to approve this, that's why I needed a distance. If we approve it, I would want the distance that it has to be 3 feet off the street or whatever. You know?
He did not provide a distance.
You know, and that's one thing, and it sounds like you're willing to abide by if you have to move it in a little bit.
I'm okay with that, I'm just hoping that in the future, because I know there's setbacks for the garage that I intend to get after. That has to be so many feet from the street, and also so many feet from the house, and I'm just hoping that if there's a fence, is there a distance between buildings and a fence? You see what I'm saying? Or is there,
I think
it's just a property line?
I think it's just a property line.
It's a property line.
And other structures, if it's detached, but.
My main thing is,
And keeping your stuff safe.
right,
It's
as far as,
certainly important, and these projects take a long time, as you know.
if you see the fence posts that are cut off, I won't say any names, but one of the remonstrators is the one who cut them off.
I think I know which one to.
You know what I mean?
Fence, the chain link fence can be installed, as long as it's not in a front yard.
He has 2 front yards.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. But I'm just saying, the ordinance, you read the ordinance saying chain link fence. You can install them, but it should be that coated chain link.
And I'm okay with that too.
Pardon?
No, it has to be, it cannot be a chain link fence facing a road, period.
That's part of the request here. What I'm saying, if you were to put up a chain link fence, it has to be that coated type like they have down by the South Shore Association beach there, correct?
I wasn't aware.
It's still a
Chain link is
chain
chain
link
link.
fence. I didn't think the coating had anything to do with it, John.
Well,
It certainly looks nicer.
Yeah.
you can put a chain link fence on your side lot.
Yes, sir.
Both side lots in your backyard if it's not a through lot. With the new ordinance coming out, one of those will be a backyard, not a front yard. So you'll only have one front yard. So what is your front yard now? Your
Well, my address is Dewey, so I would
Dewey.
assume.
So the Lee Street side would be the backyard. So therefore, you could put chain link up on 3 sides.
Not according to the ordinance on a through lot though for fences
Now,
and in the future. The way the new zoning ordinance is, it's the exact same on a through lot. You can put in a 4-foot fence meeting the setbacks, but it has to be opaque.
I thought we were eliminating that type of deal so we don't have to have people in front of us.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, because there was,
I think the through lot is
you were
the-
gonna determine the front yard based off the address.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, but this is a through lot,
Yeah,
which changes everything a little bit.
corner lots, maybe that would,
The corner lots, I think, is what we were after, John, in the new ordinance.
well,
All right, my point being is, I don't have a problem with a chain link fence, because everything else around it is pretty much chain link fence, but I would want it to be coated, what I'm saying. And we need to find a distance from the road it has to be for a fire truck. So the chief needs to give us that
yeah.
dimension.
Now we're getting into designing. As it is on paper, 6 foot doesn't fly with me, when these setbacks are exacerbating a problem. It's been a problem for a long time, even though there's other existing things there. He needs to keep the stuff safe, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys on this. I know we don't like chain link fences, but this area, it's consistent everywhere, and me personally, if I were to see this area with a bunch of 6-foot privacy fences on all these small lots everywhere, I think it would just, it blocks off views.
Well, I'm against 6 foot too.
Right. Yeah, well, the 6 foot I personally have a problem with too, the 6 foot and the setbacks.
Well, the only reason I asked for 6 is because I didn't know if I could get 5, and I knew that, or I assumed that if you guys approved 6 and I went with 5, I would be safe.
Did you measure what's out there now? Is it 5? It looks like 4 in a picture, but is that 5 for sure?
I did, measure, but I was talking to a fence guy, and he said it could have, sunk.
I think the picture that Jill found.
Those old ones?
I didn't,
That one old picture?
I didn't give her this picture. Can I walk up here?
Yeah.
To answer your question, that is from the ground to the top of the south fence.
Okay,
So
58.
58, 59 if you count the thing on the neural on her.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. That's the south fence?
Yes.
But you want, this photo that Joe pulled up from the county, that looks like a 4-foot fence to me, where you had along the road.
That's an old picture though.
Right. But that was standing when you bought it, I'm assuming, right?
No, it wasn't on the
No.
survey.
Oh, it was?
That's an old picture, Nick.
Okay, I thought they were.
No, that's an old picture because, I have other pictures, but I don't know where they're at right now. You couldn't even see the house when I bought it. I mean, it was literally,
Yeah.
it looked like, I turned in a picture about the lot across the street, how it looked.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
on your zoning ordinance, fences on through lots not served by sidewalks. The zoning administrator has the authority to designate one of the front yards as a rear yard. A fence located on a through lot not served by sidewalks that has been designated as a rear yard shall be set back a minimum of 6 feet from the right-of-way line and shall not exceed a height of 4 feet, subject to additional following provisions. If the fence is constructed with a material such as wrought iron or wood piers, a 6-foot fence is allowed if the fence is designed 50% open to allow increased visibility to pedestrians and motorists. And the
Okay.
fence is set back a minimum of 6 feet from the side lot line.
A lot of caveats there.
And the lot is
And
so
they
small,
shall
if
not
I
be
start taking 6
constructed
feet
of-
here,
Yeah.
I
You won't
won't
be able to
have a
walk
driveway.
between the house and the fence.
Chain link wire or an equivalent type of material adjacent to any street.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, as presented, Mr. President, I'm not sure, anything here is, fits for me.
Okay. Yeah, we'd like to see you get your stuff enclosed in a fence, for sure.
the problem is I tore it down.
Right.
I wish I would've never done it. It was just easier with all the vegetation that was in it to do that.
Mhm. Well, like I said, I personally am not completely against all this, it's just the way that it's brought to us. We all have some issues with it.
Jill, are me boxes, are those against the town ordinance? Those portable storage boxes?
I think we're silent on them. Honestly, I think we're silent on them.
That's what
They're
I thought.
usually temporary.
Yeah.
You know, to have something permanent, no.
Yeah.
Because that would fall under your accessory buildings.
So I can build a house out of one of those? You guys want to say anything?
We're building one on line.
That's different than a me box.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's,
And
All right.
if you were to consider anything on Lee Street, that shed is definitely too close to the road.
Yeah.
It's causing, it, to me, and looking at it, it's in your line of sight on that road.
Okay. You plan on doing something with it, Mr. Bowman, that shed that
So,
you're talking about?
if that's the case, then there could never be a garage there, right?
If you put, so if
Like
you
if
have
you
to
build a
put your
two-car
fence,
garage.
if you have to put your fence 6 feet from Lee Street,
Your side lot line is only 70 feet. The current house is 24 and 15, so 39, 45,
This is what I'm getting at. I've measured all this.
and then allowing 6 feet, you're at 51. That gives you 19 feet to sort of play with.
No, you're talking east to west?
It doesn't fit. If you, 6 feet, then it doesn't fit. Two-car garage will never fit.
If you're 6 foot off the road with the fence?
Right.
I will say Dewey is very tight, and I have a little car, and a neighbor was trying to pass me, and I had to go around the block.
All right.
So the issues we have here is distance from the road, number one, number two, type of fence material, and number three, the height.
Yeah.
Those are the three main things, right?
I honestly don't have an issue with the chain link itself, but maybe the black chain link, that looks sharp. I think that looks sharp in South Shore, but,
Their weathers too, I mean, it doesn't get.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It would be the same as a vinyl fence,
Well,
you know, even,
Yes, sir?
as presented, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to not allow the petitioner to replace a previously removed chain link fence with a 6-foot fence, the side yard setback of 1'3" and 3.5 feet from Dewey Street and Lee Street with findings of fact.
Okay. We have a motion by Jerry to deny
So
this.
now,
We're not in the design business, that's my point. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna decide anything. My question here is now, if we vote to deny this, then he can't come back with a fence for a year.
Unless he comes back with some significant changes.
Who determines that, Joe?
We would look at it as a building department to determine if it's significant.
All 3 pieces of this, 4 pieces, chain link, 6 foot, the whole thing, all of this is wrong. So he would have to change all of this.
Understood, but
So-
I'm just trying to bring it out so that he understands the position he's in right now.
But I made a motion. So
I know you
Robert's
did,
rules of order.
and I'm on the question.
Okay.
Now I need a second.
Yeah, motion made by Jerry to deny this developmental variance. Do we have a second? Second call for a second to deny this developmental variance. Last call for a second. All right, the motion dies for lack of a second. So,
If we were to get, if you were to ask for a deferral and come back in 1 or 2 months with upgraded information, that would be more acceptable to this, board, would that be in line, or as opposed to flat out denying everything? On a denial, he would have to go through the whole process of reapplication and mailings and all that, correct?
Correct.
You know, on a deferral here, if he's willing to upgrade his request, would that be in line?
oh, it's possible.
It is possible, but again, we can't be giving false hopes. And the property already exists with violations. 2 for sure. So, I understand, and you're right. He could come back with modifications. If he wanted to request a deferral.
So, and he has every right to request a deferral. You understand, Mr. Bowman, what
Yeah.
you're getting at? And
but can I ask, so like, if I'm gonna get deferred, so what am I asking for? Am I looking for easements The height, I mean, I said I was informed to ask for 6, but I wanted to match the other fence. So that would be 5, right? I showed you the picture.
Who told you to ask for 6?
We discussed the varying heights of 4 foot to 5 foot
Yeah?
to 6 feet. I asked how high he wanted to go, and he said it varied. We were
Right.
at a
I
very
wanted to
low.
match.
I said, then you ask for the highest you want, and you can always consider something less. But if he asked for 4 but really wanted 5, you can't go up, you have to go down. So that is why the 6 foot was requested.
Like I said, the chain link, the 6-foot setbacks, all that stuff is, doesn't look like it's gonna fly here tonight. So a deferral might be your best bet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
And-
again, what am I asking for? 5 foot then?
Well,
No.
what I would do is is it fair for him to reach out to Chief Wilkening to see what's sufficient around there for a setback on that fence? I mean, that's something that you had concerns about. How do you quantify that?
Well, the street department's back there more than the fire department is, so perhaps Public Works or the building department can give him an idea of what works and what doesn't work.
You understand? We need some kind of numbers to work with.
Well, if we're abiding by the ordinance, which Jill read, then it has to be 6 feet off the roadway, correct?
6 feet off of Lee.
6 feet, and then it has to be a different type of material, can't be chain link,
Correct.
and it has to be 4 foot high.
Correct.
Now, the other question that come to mind is if he had, like Jerry brought up, which I forgot about, is he has 2 outstanding violations now?
Yes.
So, would we be amiss to approve something without those violations being corrected?
That would be your decision.
I don't know, Dave was here.
What, I know the shed is 1, what's the second?
Well, I guess you're referencing the permit expiring, right?
You have-
I don't know, Jerry said 2, but
There's an expired
Jill-
permit,
Jill-
there's a shed on the property without a permit.
Those are
There's a
the,
shed that's been moved within the setback on Lee Street.
that's what our building inspector called out.
The shed, it was moved, but so the property, so the way the shed was, it never left the distance from the street, it just turned. So that was always the same distance from the street.
But one of them's not in compliance, just it's.
I agree with that.
Right? Okay. So that's something that you probably have to get cleaned up,
Okay.
you know? But like I said, your options here are to either request a deferral or another motion gets made to approve this, but it looks like you've got an uphill battle here.
I got the first part out of the way.
Right. The options
Trying to
are.
get home before midnight.
The options are dwindling.
Right. And I didn't want a second because I wanted to see if the deferral was an option, because,
Well, it's out there.
but,
So are you requesting a deferral to get some of these ducks in a row?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, we
I would
can
like
still, we can still make a motion to not approve this.
Well, the motion died, but.
Yeah, we can make another motion. Motion's all night, right?
You could.
If that's what,
Well, it's up
Well,
to you.
you know, I know the guy needs to keep his stuff safe, but and he's fixing up this house, and as presented, this is not, doesn't look like it's gonna fly.
Right.
So if Mr. Bowman wanted some time to do some more homework, he should ask for a deferral. However, somebody in the building department, we need to know how these, current violations, what those hinder him from doing.
Getting another permit without having one closed out.
So are you requesting a deferral then?
otherwise, what's my second option? Wait a year?
The second option,
it'll be denied.
Yeah, the second option is it would probably end up getting denied, it looks like, tonight, unless you came back.
And how long is for the deferral?
It would be next month if you were prepared to come back next month. So if there is a deferral, we need to make sure that we get with you guys to figure out what you wanna see get cleaned up around there, you know, with these violations.
Were there citations issued for these violations?
No.
There has been communication on the permit being expired. And I know Mr. Bowman and Mr. Kubiak have had conversations, and that's why this wound up in front of you for a variance for the fence.
So that's where
And
you're
I
at.
do understand the need to protect his property,
Right. Yep,
because you can see where it's driven through,
right.
and I do understand that, but if you want to meet the ordinance and be 6 feet off of Lee Street, you can put up a fence that would meet those requirements and not be chain link. It could be aluminum, it could be picket, it could be something see-through.
What about
on
the
that lot.
north line?
Pardon me?
The north property line?
That could be chain link, right? It's not along the road, north and
The
south
north property line, it would still have to be 6 feet back from Lee Street.
Mhm. But it could be chain link.
But can it
Could
be
be
on the
chain
property
link.
line, or is there a
No,
setback?
you have to have it
No,
on the
it could be
front.
on the property line on the side.
Yeah.
If he meets the ordinances, then he doesn't have to come back.
Correct.
Then he just has to deal with, he meets the ordinance, doesn't have to come back here, and he just has to deal with the building department on his violations.
Correct.
So you can defer this matter to figure whether you are going to stick with this plan, maybe tweak it, or try to get in line with our current ordinance and just withdraw your petition if you can get in line with all the verbiage that Jill gave us
Right,
tonight.
I can defer for now and then withdraw
If need be, but maybe.
because I don't wanna make a snap decision.
Right,
This-
Right, I understand, I think we all understand, but you want to secure your stuff, and maybe there's a garage down the road, and you want to be able to do that, I get it, so.
And one of the things you discussed at previous meetings was this hardship of wanting to put the fence up, and then you want to put a garage up in the future. Putting the fence up with this hardship, if you're creating another hardship for the garage,
Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
why I
think you need
mentioned
to
it too, about
determine,
the
you
distance.
might have some items you want to consider, knowing your future plans for the
Yeah.
property.
well, moving the fence takes away everything.
Well, think of your master plan here, and,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Yeah, doing your homework on your master
Well,
plan would
that's
be
what
the
I'm
best
saying,
thing
if I have
to
to
do.
be 6 feet off of Lee, and the 10 foot of buildings, I've already measured, it doesn't fit. It just will never fit on that property.
well, then you're gonna have to do it best you can to make
Right.
this
No,
more
I understand.
appealing, you know,
Just-
so, are you
Defer, yes.
requesting a deferral? Okay.
Are you wanting to defer to January or February? And I'm only asking because we know there's some holidays coming up
Yeah.
between now
Can I
and.
do February?
Yeah, you're more than
Okay,
welcome.
Because I mean, they're not
You're
gonna,
requesting-
if I do a fence, they're not gonna break ground on that for a while anyways.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to request that, Mr. Bowman.
Okay.
February,
Yes.
which year? 22. Okay, so the petitioner is requesting a deferral to February of 2022 in order to get some more information. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Is it from John and Jerry? Okay. We've got a motion from John, seconded by Jerry, to defer this item until February of 2022. And we'll get working on your master plan and building department. We all good?
Yeah, but I wanna double check something. You create your own hardship. There isn't any BZA submissions, that's correct.
Correct.
Okay. Roll call?
If he meets the ordinance with the fence and then comes in for a garage,
Yeah.
that's
Totally
Not a
different,
second
totally
hardship.
different story.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening.
Yes.
Mr. Kapura,
Yes,
Mr. Recupero,
Yes, motion carries 4-0. See you in a couple months.
All right, thank you.
Next item of new business is
Trying to do the guy before long.
Ton and Blank Construction, Franciscan Cedar Lake Health Center, owner R.M. Tebow and Associates Incorporated, P.O. Box 1313, Lafayette, Indiana 47902. The petitioner being Ton and Blank Construction, 1623 Greenwood Avenue, Michigan City, Indiana 46360. The property being, in question being in the vicinity of 6831 West 133rd Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have additional parking in the front yard. Petitioner, name and address, please.
Ross Warner, 21886 South, 800 West, Lacrosse, Indiana, 46348.
Okay. And the reason for your request?
I'd like to put an addition on the clinic on 133rd, and due to the parking in the front yard, we were asked to come to the BZA meeting. I was not intending to be speaking tonight. The architect of record was supposed to be here, but not sure what happened.
We see that happen all the time.
Yeah, he'll be getting a call from me tomorrow, for sure. So hopefully I can answer your guys' questions and not have to come back, but
Okay.
if that's what we get to, it's.
They want to put an addition on, the medical center on 133rd by Luke's,
Okay.
and they want to go east with it. And by going east with it, there's, I think, 5 spots, parking spots in front, that should be on the north side, is what he's asking.
Yeah, I know these guys got the site plan last week. Did Nick get it?
I put it in their packet.
They're gonna add spots in front of that.
Yeah,
addition?
they're gonna put like 5 spots in front of it. He was before the plan
Okay.
commission with,
Yeah, we had given a
drawings.
site plan last week.
with drawings, and, he's gonna put 5 spots in front, and it matches up with the other parking that's in front of the building and in front yard.
Okay. Jill?
Page 26 in your packet. The gray areas are showing where the additional parking is going to be installed in front of the front building line.
Okay.
When the building was originally built, they did have permission for parking in the front yard setback. And it was, the discussion in the meeting minutes were conditioned on the site plan that was provided during that meeting. So since they are adding on 5 additional exam rooms and the amount of space they're adding on, the amount of waiting room seats, they need some additional parking.
And this will be sufficient?
And this would be sufficient. It's just, it's in the front yard and it wasn't part of that site plan when the building was originally built.
Okay.
So that is why it's in front of you.
Okay.
The proposed addition's gonna be attached, however, it'd be totally separate. Air conditioner will be in the back. We're gonna get, what, 2, 3 more doctors in that clinic?
I cannot remember how many exactly.
Mr.
I know
What's his
there-
name, Mr. Ballas? Mr.
Balla.
Balla?
There will be
Here.
5 new exam rooms,
Yes.
nurse station, but I do not know how many doctors they want to add.
He had said the other night.
He did.
I can't remember what he said.
So you guys at planning commission level haven't had any issues with this?
No, it's almost a technicality.
Okay. All right.
The site plan will be in front of them for approval next week.
Okay.
The, social distancing still applies and whatnot, so.
They still have 19 seats in the waiting room.
And Mr. President, if you look at the sheet here over to the east, you'll see that, they're gonna clear a small triangular shaped area of trees. A little better presentation.
Okay. Along the road, closer to that triangle, closer to the road there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the north triangle.
Okay. All right. Well, seems pretty cut and dry. So engineering has no problems with this? Sure.
So,
Not a word.
Okay. All right. Have a brief seat, sir, if you don't mind. Are there any remonstrators for or against this variance? Anyone for or against? Joe, anything online?
No, sir.
All right, that was quick. Public portion is closed, please step back up. Yeah, you guys are on the putting the finishing touches on this, I assume? So,
Yep.
okay.
should we state the number of parking spots in this motion?
I would personally, if he had,
5, isn't it?
Yes, 5 along 133rd.
Yeah.
But there's also the one
There are-
off the side.
9, there's 9 total? No,
Bigger
11.
ones?
11 total.
Yeah, 11 new spots, 5 along 133rd.
And the variance is just for 5.
This is just additional parking.
No, it's more than 5.
It's gotta be everything in the front, right?
It's everything in the front.
I can't find page 27. I'm trying to remember from the plan I seen.
So, I don't know, maybe if you make a
Oh, they're
motion.
putting those up front there too, I forgot about those.
So maybe the motion, consistent with the site plan, I guess, they proposed?
Their
All
site
these- all
plan
these
is
shades?
dated 10/1/21.
Okay.
That helps you.
On paper, there's no specifics,
Yeah, no
so
number.
if you wanna call them out.
10/20/21 letter,
Site plan?
10/1/21.
site plan is that, or letter?
Site plan.
I forgot about those up to that.
Ray, are you good with this? You got any concerns?
No.
Okay. All right, so this will be a developmental variance to allow these additional spots in the front yard. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the developmental variance, to allow the petitioner to have, additional parking in the front yard, per the site plan dated 10/01/21, and the findings of fact.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by John, seconded by Jerry, to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to have additional parking in the front yard per the 10/1/21 site plan that was submitted, and to include the findings of fact. You understand the motion, sir? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkenich,
Yes.
Mr. Torra,
Yes.
Mr. Cupido,
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. This is an item deferred from last month. Weir's Electric Power Solutions LLC, variance of use and developmental variance. Owner John and Darlene Boersma, 11703 Upper Peninsula Lane, St. John, Indiana, 46373. The petitioner being Jeff Weirs from Electric Power Solutions LLC, P.O. Box 712, St. John, Indiana, 46373. The property in question being in the vicinity of 12828 Wicker Avenue. The first variance request is a variance of use, allowing the petitioner to have 2 principal structures on a lot in a B3 zoning district with multiple tenants in each building. The second request is a developmental variance to allow the petitioner to utilize a natural buffer as screening to adjacent residential zoning, to allow parking in the front yard and side yard, to allow 1 monument sign in the front yard, and signage per tenants not to exceed 32 square feet. And petitioners, can you guys please state your name and addresses for the record?
Jeff Weirs, Electric Power Solutions, 9200 Field Street, number 712, St. John, Indiana.
Okay.
Ryan Maravich, DVG Team, 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point, Indiana.
Okay. And I just went through the long request, but that pretty much cover it, what you guys got going on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
We did a continued public hearing, so the public hearing was open and closed at your last meeting. I did not remove the remonstration from
Okay.
the agenda, just so you
So
know.
it's
We
still-
did open and close it
Okay.
at the last meeting.
All right, thanks, Jill. Did you have anything else, anything?
Did you want me to provide them with the information?
Sure.
They had provided me with information on items they're going through. With the Plan Commission, there had been some discussion on their western property line and the storm drainage in that area. And setting a line. Sorry, Ryan, you and John speak on that so much better than I do, but.
And so there was the drainage issue, which I think you guys are all aware of. And there was also an issue with potential wetlands that Don wanted us to look at. So what we were doing, I've been working with Don to determine how far towards US 41 do we have to go to stay out of these sensitive areas. And so that's what we've been working on. So, originally, the variances, that you had read, we would still, like to try to get 2 principal structures on the lot. We would still, no matter what happens, get the monument signage, in the front yard setback, and then we would also, no matter what the circumstances, like to do parking in the front yard setback. We would defer, because it's contingent on what Don and I find of how far, east we're gonna push the site plan. The multiple tenants, because we don't really know what size the buildings are gonna be. Also, the natural buffer, since we're not touching the west part, the natural buffer will, the developed area won't, be adjacent to the residential areas, so that the, buffer area won't be touched. And then the, other thing related to the building size and tenants is the signage. We ask for deferral on those 3, and then, the other 3 we'd be asking for tonight, just because that's contingent on the site plan being in flux.
So let's clear this up, okay? So you guys are no longer, so the variance of use now is just concerning having 2 principal structures on a lot in the B3 zoning district, sans the part about multiple tenants?
Correct.
We're deferring.
Deferring, yeah.
We're deferring until we figure things out with Don.
That whole item, like the whole use item, the use variance request? Which,
We're splitting it in half. So
Yeah.
are they still, can they still have 2 principal structures? Those sizes are still being determined
Right.
based on what comes out of the engineering on the storm drainage and how far east they kind of need to move those buildings.
We're not.
So are they gonna be, 2,000 square foot buildings to 800 square foot buildings? That's still being determined.
Right.
And determining the size of those buildings will determine how many tenants they're wanting to put in each. So they can't give you a number this evening because the size of those buildings is still being determined. But they wanted to be able to still move forward with their site plan and seeing if you're going to allow 2 principal structures
Gotcha.
on the lot.
okay, and then the developmental variance, the screening part, you're not asking for anymore?
Because we won't be touching so there are 2 residential lots in the rear of this. There would be no development adjacent to that, so.
We would like to defer it though,
Defer,
just
right,
in case there
yes.
happens to be a foot we have to touch, but that is still being reviewed by engineering.
So it's basically just allowing parking in the front and side yard?
Yeah, it's just.
Signage
and-
And the monument
And the
sign in the
monument.
front yard, so they can
And of course,
continue that
the 2
portion.
principal structures.
Okay,
One's a variance, one's developmental. The signage going
Good.
above each of the businesses or
Right.
additional uses in each building. Until we know how many uses that is, it made sense to defer that item as well.
gotcha.
We had discussion, right before the last plan commission meeting. Ryan, Jim,
Jeff.
Jeff, oh my
Jeff,
gosh,
John.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Jeff, John,
Don and Joe.
Don, myself, Rick, we all sat down and talked about a lot of this. And Don and Ryan are working through a lot of that engineering right now.
So my take on this is, it's getting chopped up. I wish I would've seen this as a PUD, and I think you guys.
Well,
I understand it's too small, but like Rick had talked about, you guys could have requested a variance to allow a PUD on a piece of property that was smaller than our 10 acre, I think it's a 10 acre minimum, right?
If we may, this has all been, in a big works. I mean, we didn't see this coming with the waterway and things, and we're trying to work with Don and you guys to try to figure out our best solution to really completely avoid that because of the concerns that you and especially the Plan Commission had with what we had originally started with. We're cutting back the size of our site and our buildings to do so, to try to make everything a whole lot easier and more okay with you guys on a kind of a quick and easy. So we're just looking to defer those items until we come up with a better plan and Don has his time to actually do his part with the adjacent properties as well as ours, to really be able to kind of give us a definitive line as, as far as where he's comfortable with us building and not.
Right. Okay.
He's got to find the, we're searching for, he looked through a report, basically we're looking for the flood elevation, through analysis, and that's gonna give a, elevation, the contour, and that's the line. So it's.
To build on.
The,
Where to build and where not to build?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know that it's really gonna affect us, but the current owner owns the adjacent property at Ileana, Storage,
Okay.
and had said, off the record to me, that when he built his property, he put in drainage that was supposed to, adhere for this property as well. I don't think that we're even taking that into consideration, but we're really just trying to do what's in the best interest of everybody to make things right and easy and stay out of that easement from all the other considerations that were, brought upon us that we didn't foresee in the previous meetings, so hindsight's 20/20, but unfortunately, this is kind of where we're ending up at, and why we're trying to, just defer the other items that are kind of hanging in the air for now until we kind of get to a good spot.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a few questions. So when did you get this?
We had been discussing that.
When did you get this piece of paper?
When did I get that
Yeah.
piece of paper? I had that piece of paper on Monday, and we had
Okay.
discussed it today.
Okay.
There were some changes that were made to it.
Okay. The very first concept of this,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned to Don, don't we need to look at this water carefully? He said, absolutely. So this 20/20 hindsight thing, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The first time you were here, you were told about the water. Don also said those two pieces of property to the south and to the west, we didn't need any screening because it was B. I sat right over there when he told me that. They're not Bs, they're Rs.
Correct.
So waiving the screening is certainly still an item that should be discussed. Leaving the natural vegetation that we don't know will be there or not, depending on the size of the pond, for everything else.
That's why they were asking for a deferral on that. They weren't asking to completely eliminate it. The way it's written, it may read a little
Yeah.
funky, but we're asking to defer on that based on Don's engineering review. The two buildings as originally presented were 10,500 square feet. I don't think you're planning on going any larger with having two structures on there. You just want to be able to move forward with two structures in their planning.
Correct.
And I have a hunch, and you're right, there was the water has been, I guess, we had taken that into account, but, realizing the effect it had, that's where it's like, well, maybe we need to.
To the tune of about $1 million so far. To the north.
Excuse me?
To the north. To the north. That's how much effect it's had.
Okay. From,
Ask Don.
insurance, like claims and stuff?
Wicker Meadows.
Okay.
Am I close? That's why this
No
has to be
comment.
looked at really, 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 really carefully.
And they are, and that's why I think some of these items asking for a deferral on the waiver of the screening, we don't know the answer to that today, but we wanted to try and keep their site plan moving forward and allowing them to have two structures, whether they're 10,500 square feet or smaller, because they may, as they move them up, the parking in the front yard wouldn't be able to go any further than what they're proposing here. The sign in the front yard wouldn't change, so being able to move those items forward, the rest would have to be determined coming out of the engineering that Don and Ryan are working through right now. That's why
I guess,
we're kind of splitting this up a little bit.
yeah, I guess some of this stuff is site plan stuff, so why is it here?
The
Shouldn't that be at
deferral,
plan-
the buffer
shouldn't that be
is
at the planning
required, the
commission?
buffer is required per your zoning ordinance, which is BZA.
Because it's not a PUD, if this is a PUD, you guys could have handled everything at the plan commission level with waivers and what you wanted to see, but being that it's not a PUD, these things aren't a waiver, they're gonna be a variance here, you know? But, so I have to ask you, Joe, with the removal of the number of tenants in their request, is that still a use variance to have two principal structures on that lot?
Yes, it is.
Because they're only
Your
allowed one?
zoning ordinance only allows for one principal structure on a lot.
Okay, so it's considered a use variance still, it's not a developmental?
Isn't that,
Because that seems like a developmental variance request to me. Two structures instead of one.
something that says two principal structures on B3 with multiple tenants in each building, that seems like a blank check.
Well, they're removing the multiple tenants, or they're asking to remove the multiple tenants, correct?
No, we're just asking.
I mean,
for
defer, I'm sorry, I keep
Yeah, yeah.
using the
Yeah,
wrong
you were
verb,
saying
but,
remove it. I'm
yeah,
like, no.
defer, sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
throw
defer.
something at me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so they're asking to defer that item, but they want to see if they can get approval on having two structures there first.
We've always had the two principal structures go through as a variance,
You have, okay, all
and
right,
that way it goes to the town council.
okay.
So you don't know if they're gonna be 8 and 8 or 10 and 10.
At this point, it's completely variant on where Don is pointing us to on our western boundary. And we're gonna manipulate our site plans and parking and size of buildings and everything because of that, to try to make it work with, you know, the buildable area on that property to try to stay away from the waterway.
So there's 3 things here they're looking for variances for
Yes, sir.
tonight.
Right now.
There's 3.
Correct.
There's also, not to mention there's a potential, Don identified there a possible, he was asked for a wetland delineation because there's a low spot there and he just wanted to check that it wasn't wetland. So that's on the other side of that waterway, so the potential of the mitigation, and that's money too, so it's like, might as well just stay out of that.
Yeah, I got you.
So, and those were things that were just brought up during the process of all of this, which has kind of continued it and changed things along the way. Yes, we were aware of the water, myself a lot less, because I'm not the engineer. I didn't come together with the site plan. We just kind of went with what we're being told. But we've been trying to work with everything since, and we're trying to work with Don now to come up with the best plan to stay away from these other studies that he was asking for, both for, you know, time and cost situations and the betterment of the property and surrounding.
And I was aware during the design of that waterway problem, and I had discussed some things with Don. He said, well, I said, there was the comment that came up about turning it.
Yep.
And so basically Don wanted it to go to another level because it is a larger problem. He said, I think you're gonna have a more stringent analysis, basically.
Yeah, these on the second picture here, that's in purple and bright blue, these 5 waterways here, what size pipes are those?
To the north on Ileana.
On Ileana.
Okay,
Under
24.
5 24-inch pipes.
24-inch pipes.
That's why the water has to be looked at
Wait.
so carefully.
Which is where, you know, the gentleman that owns this, as well as Ileana, had spoken to me and told me that, you know, during his process in engineering, they had over-engineered his property and those pipes and his detention area on the north of his property before that subdivision over there, that he only ever gets a trickle, even in the heaviest rains. And why he had, you know, told me, because he had owned this property, that he had worked towards remediating the water issue on this piece of property adjacent to his. And, you know, more than likely that won't even be taken into account for what we're trying to do and why we're just looking for Don to point us in the right direction to just stay away from the back area to eliminate all concerns.
Ileana,
Don is a wise guy.
Ileana storage plans, as we're reviewing all of this, also have a comment on them allowing for a 100-year rain event And that's why the oversizing of everything,
Well,
is there, but they're really taking a detailed look at this, knowing
Yeah,
the
well,
history in the area.
and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, not only at this position, but to the west, a quarter of a mile, there's another similar condition. And this 100-year rains a lot.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
they, like you said, they go north,
They
they
do
go
this
through,
thing.
what was the subject, Wicker Meadows?
Wicker Meadows.
And then I think to the northwest of there is where they eventually meet up and, you know.
There's a few of them that come together and then they split off and kind of come together again, and they actually go through the subdivision itself.
Yeah.
And that was a consideration that, John, the owner, said that he actually took into account himself because that subdivision was there, and whether it was overlooked or, considered a different way, he went forward and did a lot more than was necessary just for the area and for that subdivision so that there wouldn't be problems. And all that, Don had shared with us that all that is non-digital information, so it's taking him a little bit longer to dig through all of that, is my understanding.
So with this, the new proposal, or I guess new request, if you did get favorable determination on these tonight, when would we see you next?
Well, it definitely, we'll be here next week for primary plat. Hopefully, once we determine where that line is, January, I'm hoping.
Here,
Yeah.
this board?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, or the plan commission for site plan.
okay. So
It
you
would be.
Be kind of,
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
all,
well, yeah. So we,
it would be,
do both?
for
Yeah.
the site plan, yes, but then for the remainder, it would be, it'd be January.
Okay. Now, have you guys worked on any of that stuff that we had issues with last month? We had issues with types of businesses, with the number of businesses. Have you
Again,
guys-
we're asking for a deferral on that because at this point, we really don't know what our site plan is really gonna end up looking like. We had the meeting with, Jill, Rick, Don, and all of ourselves to try to get somewhere with that, and it's just kind of been left in Don's hands to, work with Ryan and come up with where that line's gonna be and what we're gonna need to do. We've played around with a little bit of some ideas, but we don't know where that needs to end up at because we need that information from Don. I mean, that could end up potentially pushing us back to, completely different building sizes and tenant amounts and parking spaces and all the things that have been a concern that may change or completely remove all those concerns, and
Right. I just have a problem with doing this piecemeal like this. This doesn't seem efficient for us or you guys to be bouncing around like this, hack this part off, oh, we'll get to this one next month.
And I would suggest the best reason for right now is just we're continuing to stay in front of you. I mean, last meeting, you guys asked for us to come back and bring you update, and this is where we're at.
Right, I mean, it'd be nice, usually when we hear these things, we got a whole plan in front of us, And now, I don't even know if you're gonna be able to put these two buildings up, where you're gonna be able to put them, all this stuff.
With the holiday thrown
Yeah.
in there, it just added that much more of,
Yeah, I understand.
a slowdown of everything. And, Don's concern with it, being all analog and having to look through a lot of different things and what have you, we just can't give you any definitive answer that we're comfortable with until we have that information.
Jill, item 2, monument signage in front yard back.
It should be
Front yard
setback.
setback.
It's gonna be in the setback.
Yes,
On
sir.
41.
correct.
Okay, all right,
If you look on,
yeah. You guys have, what that...
it's on the, previous one, not the purple, the page before.
Oh, it's in
Number
the
4.
purple one, I think. No?
Well, some of those colors are hard for me to read, sorry. My eyes are getting.
Touche. So right here on the fronts? No, up by 41.
Number 4.
There's a grassy area on the east side up against 41 there.
Okay. I think it's that purple thing right there.
Yeah, it would be in that,
Oh,
in
I
the
think it's that little purple.
drive radius on the south. Right.
It's 10 foot, 12 foot. I'm asking
It's that
now.
hot pink. It would meet our sign ordinance
Yeah.
for a monument
Okay.
sign.
Okay.
It's just the location, since it's in the front yard setback, they have to get a variance for that.
Yeah, I
Same with the parking. I think
agree with
they're
Nick.
trying to get some commitment that we're good with the project being here, and we're trying to keep some of it rolling.
Well, and I think these three, definitely, no matter what happens with the site plan, those three, well, I can't even say the two buildings, we'd like to potentially, but those three, I see as, the sign's gonna be there, the parking's gonna be in the front yard, and, you know, as it's been pared back now, there's still two buildings.
If I may, gentlemen, and Jill, we discussed this before. I mean, we're here on the heels of closing on the property, and so these variances are extremely important to us moving forward. I mean, we have significant capital already invested here to come up with plans and everything else, and we're really just looking to finalize our purchase of the property to be able to move forward with what we're hopeful and considering of, you know, still not really having all of the rubber stamps that we were looking to have, you know, within our timeline, but at least trying to get through some of the major things, and, you know, with the setback of figuring out where our western boundary is going to be and what that means for how much space we're going to have, you know, that's very much up in the air and going to change a lot of things for us. You know, utilizing the same amount of property, but potentially having a lot less space. But we're willing to work with those things, at least trying to have the understanding of these three variances we're coming in for tonight, just so that we have an understanding of where we should go. You know, the other ones are equally important, but we can't really give you any further direction on that until we have some direction ourselves. So I apologize for the piecemealness, but that's kind of where we're at, you know, in the length that it's taken for us to kind of get to this point, I guess, and figure this out.
Those other decisions, though, those make a difference on your building sizes, right?
Yes, sir.
Your configuration?
Yeah.
Okay.
After just having time to look this over, I like the way it's broken up, regardless of the circumstances. I will say that, you know, if you end up with one structure, it's one structure. We're not changing anything. The sign's gonna have to be out front somewhere, and it'll have to be in that area. And the parking's gonna be in the front yard, just like the other businesses are there. So I just, I think, I see what they're after, but, I certainly would never wanna see another one of these.
It's just, I have a problem with, and I would hope the town council would have a problem with this if this went through, to allow basically two buildings to be put in with the intention of having multiple tenants and improving that without having anything quantified. Like, it all goes back to having this whole plan in front of us, you know, and making the decision on the entire plan. You know, last month, we had not enough information. We asked you guys to come back with more. Now this month, we got even less information to work with. And, you know, now we don't even know how many tenants you're gonna have now. So you guys might be taking steps forward in the right direction, but the way this is on paper, it's almost like a step back for us, because now we have less information from you guys. That's the problem.
You had talked to
The tenants, from what he said before, that the plan commission is based upon the size of the building. Now, he's gonna utilize the first building, the front building, and maybe one tenant in there with him. So that would be two. Now, the back building, he was talking when it was 10,000 square feet, 5 tenants, 2,000 square feet each. But he rethought that 2,000 would be, am I correct in saying that? 2,000 would be too small. No, it was the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around.
So he was gonna have larger, you know, like 3 tenants. But he found that might be too hard to rent to. if it's that size. So he dropped down to like 2,000 square feet, which would have been 5 in there. But if the building's gonna be smaller, then maybe it's only 4, or maybe only 3.
Well, it's maybe, that's the problem.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but the problem is that that's gonna be decided at the plan commission.
Yeah, but we have to give a recommendation to the town council on this. And are they gonna have all this information at their disposal that we're talking about? You know, whether or not you're gonna have X amount of tenants, this and that? Are they gonna look at just 2 buildings on a property?
2 buildings on a property is what they're asking for, and that's what
And if
the
I may,
recommendation to move forward to the town council would be on having 2 primary structures on 1 lot.
Okay.
Right.
The multiple tenants would have to go back then, when that came back in front of you, then that would have to go back to the council to have the multiple tenants.
Okay.
There's an existing pole barn that's in the back that had been referenced at previous meetings, and I would probably suggest that was at a plan commission. But it had been referenced in regard to our second building. And at the point of construction of a second building, that building would be removed. In the time being, we would still need the first variance that we're asking for 2 principal structures, with leaving that existing building up, that is in the back part of the lot, if we were to build just a single building in the front. So the variance for 2 principal structures on a lot would still stand. And we just don't know what the final site plan is gonna look like to ask. And again, my understanding of the zoning and the acceptance of our B3 zoning, with our company being a principal in one of the buildings, you know, particularly the front building for now, and whether we were to move to the second building and, you know, change the amount of space that we were to use or what have you, was that we would be able to have, or at least ask you guys for multiple tenants, and that would be based on the size of the building and the parking, which we are offering more than ample, more than what you guys are suggesting or asking for, and so that we would come back later to discuss those pieces, once we have a better idea as far as what our site needs to look like because of that western line that we're trying to work with Don on.
I understand. Okay.
I think some of the other discussion was also regarding how their neighbors to the south on the other side of the road, how that complex has been chopped up and chopped up and chopped up.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of parking there once upon a time also. So I guess I have to ask, you know, you're talking about closing on this property and, you know, getting the deal done. Which one of these things, I mean, obviously it's number one. Is number one the deciding factor? Is, I mean, certainly a monument sign wouldn't be a deal breaker.
I would say 1 and 3. I mean, right now, for me, you know, I think you especially have understood that I've been pressing for as much parking as we can possibly get on this. And that's been at the expense of potential building size. Because it's a concern of mine, and it's not because of our tenant size, it's because I don't want to be cramming things in. You know, we want to be able to have plenty of space for our company to grow, and that means being able to have room for employees to be able to, you know, park their vehicle outside during working hours.
Yeah, I guess something else that comes to mind based on something you said. You said something about building the first building first, which was the building you would be in.
Yes, sir.
When would the second building be built?
TBD really has everything to do with, you know.
So you understand that there may be a caveat that doesn't become some outdoor storage for things.
Not planning for it to be. Okay. No, you're talking about like the back lot?
I'm talking about where the second building would be.
At the point of construction, we wouldn't be paving or doing anything with that back lot. We would leave it as it is right now, which is just grassy, and leave the existing structure that's back there as it is. And it's just a storage building. The owner right now is using it for his lawn mowing equipment for, you know, his property next door and what have you. And we've had discussions with him to just let him continue to use that, even through our ownership, as long as that might be there. Might be a good outbuilding for us to store some conduit in or what have you, but that's gonna be it, and it would come down at the point when we're ready to, you know, complete phase 2.
You guys, okay for now? We gotta get the remonstration.
Yes, sir.
Move along here?
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, just have a brief seat, please.
We closed the public hearing.
Oh, since it was closed last meeting, we're not gonna have any more? Okay.
No, you don't need to. You
Okay.
can, but you don't need to.
Okay, there's nothing that you've gotten online or anything?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All right, guys, sorry about that. You
Sorry,
come back
that's the
up.
part I forgot to take off the agenda,
Okay.
because we have to make most of it.
Okay. All right, Jill, did you have anything else regarding this right now?
No, that was, what we've been discussing came out of the meeting with staff and engineer and trying to get some of this moving forward and continue through the plan commission and having Don and Ryan work together on that, stormwater, knowing the issues in the area in the past.
Okay.
Mr. President, what boomerangs do you see with a vote on, number 1?
With the, one on this sheet here with 2 principal
One
structures?
on the new sheet.
Well,
I'm disappointed to hear the to be determined part of this.
right. It's, I hate to bring it up, but I feel like I'm in deja vu with Porter again. And I don't want this to drag out for you guys or us. And that's why I always look at the bigger picture, the plan, you know, and doing this the way it is. I mean, I don't think it's too smart. If you guys didn't have a contract on this place that you were trying to seal up, we probably wouldn't be rushing through this right now. We wouldn't even consider what's going on here. I think you guys might agree.
Well, yeah, I agree.
You know, so.
From both sides.
Yeah. So I
guess I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about what's concerning for you about a second phase, when we're doing everything that we can to lay it out. And the bottom line is, like everything else, it comes down to finances. You know, it's the reason why we're not considering a 16,000 square foot building that has to be sprinkled, you know, for an extra $100K right out of the box. You know, I mean, it's about feasibility. We're trying to move into this location. Our company is trying to, you know, secure a place in town. And then we're looking to, you know, down the road, I mean, we're laying out all the pieces as clear as we possibly can. There's no planned use for a bunch of boats to be stored in the back, you know, wide open.
To answer your question, the finances, and I wish we had an attorney here to say this like he does for many petitioners, finances is not something that we consider. Like, that's not something that we grant a variance on based off of finances. We can't.
Understood.
Second off, we have an obligation to maintain our zoning ordinance as a Board of Zoning Appeals. So when we grant variances, there has to be a pretty damn good reason to grant variances, especially under something like this. This is a nice big project you guys are working on, and I just hate to see loose ends, hate to see approvals given with loose ends or just, you know, verbal agreements on stuff, because you guys know these things we talk about here, unless it's spelled out on a motion clearly, it usually doesn't have any teeth.
Right.
And so, you know, it's our job to protect the town in this interest, okay? Also to work with you guys to get your business here. So, like I said, going back years, we try to see the whole plan here and everything. And like I said, we asked for more last month. Now we're getting a little less. And that's where I'm having a problem with this.
Ryan, where is Don at with some of this stuff? Does he?
So he has found, he's, to my knowledge, he is looking through that report that Ileana Storage put together, and he said that he has some flows, and my flows matched up with some of his data, but there was a larger, he basically, that report did not give a base flood elevation. and, for downstream of the pipes, and that's the point that there's gonna be some analysis involved to see where that base flood elevation, because once that's determined, that's where he's gonna tell us, you can't encroach into this flood zone, here's your line.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's gonna squeeze. So, my understanding, the last correspondence I had with Don, he said, this is what I found so far, let me look into it a little bit more, because I had raised some questions.
So we anticipate some kind of document, report from him?
Well, I wouldn't say report, I think what, is gonna be forthcoming is he's gonna say, hey, I need you to do a more robust analysis, which is like, it's a HEC-RES model, and it's a whole bunch of.
Yeah.
So that's where he's trying to determine how much information he has in that, report, and then he's gonna put it on me and say, hey, this is what's needed to determine.
Yeah.
That's where I think we're at.
Yeah, and I think like what Nick said, there's more not only is there less information, there's more questions now than before. And I don't care for that.
I want you guys to do this.
I wish you guys were half done. I really do.
But especially with something like this, we generally need more information. I mean, we get more information on stuff like this from existing stuff that we're trying to work with, let alone you guys are proposing 2 brand new buildings. So.
Well, I would say too, and I don't know, to me, it seems like kind of the chicken and egg thing. Without these 3 variances we're asking for, that's gonna determine how I put the site plan together. So if I don't have parking in the front yard setback, let's say, I would, without having that in hand, I'd leave that off. But that's not gonna represent the true site plan that I would, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, that kind of,
You're right, it's chicken or the egg.
that allows me rules and boundaries to set up the site plan, say, okay, I can put that parking in the front yard.
Now, when you guys, John, Jerry, when you guys have these plan commission work sessions and people come with a proposal with you guys, do you guys give them advice, tweak it? Is that how that works normally?
We have a lot of discussions. We have a lot of discussions about the amount of businesses.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, if you guys I have an updated.
Yeah, I think we've got that here.
That's actually the one we have in all the yellow and the purple and the.
Okay. Which this is I'm assuming that boundary. That's not set yet, but you can see that we're staying out, we push that towards 41 as much as possible. We put the pond, that's just to the east of that waterway. Now, you'll see that there's a 743 contour line. Maybe that base flood elevation is 743, so that would mean that pond is, and the whole site is getting pushed even more east towards 41 to stay out of that. And that's what.
We may find ourselves having to squeeze our buildings and our parking potentially even more. And what we're bringing to you guys tonight is really based on what we've been directed, by the others involved, to say, let's try to keep this thing moving. Everyone's working as hard and as fast as we can to try to get everyone as much information, but we just can't provide what you guys are asking for tonight because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And it's contingent, and I understand what you guys are asking, you're wanting as many questions as possible, but, it's a cause and effect. It's, okay, if this building's pushed back to where maybe it's one building footprint, I don't know, but, or maybe it's 2 very smaller buildings, that, will affect.
And if I may, gentlemen, that if we're not able to get parking in the front, if we're not potentially able to get even 2 buildings, that very well could take this 2-acre parcel that we're looking to try to close on and change this down to, because of the waterway and the other issues that we either don't know about or potentially don't get approval for, down to one extremely small building, which changes everything for us, whether it means a lot to the board or not, but on the finance side of things and what we're able to do, and what our end costs and what it means for us to bring our business, or even other multiple businesses to this property that we've been given the zoning variance for, yet it seems like we continue to be questioned on how and what we're able to do with that variance that's been granted. And for the uses, and everything else that we have the parking for, yet we've even laid out, to both boards that we don't have the intentions that your guys' concerns were for, even though it was granted to us.
What was granted to you?
B3 zoning.
Okay, I thought you meant
He
the
he used the
variance.
word variance.
Yeah, okay.
And that was,
Yeah, you need a reason.
You gotta read,
I'm
you gotta
sorry,
read.
reason.
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if there
And
was something.
I would say,
Yeah.
you mentioned finances, not that the finances are a hardship, the building's gonna be paid for, whatever the amount ends up being. It's, the building size, is really gonna be determined by the engineering.
I get it, I am where I'm at on it. I want to work with you guys and I wanna see this moving forward, but
I don't have a problem with the two principal structures on the lot, because you're right, you can end up with a 15,999 square foot building, so you don't have to sprinkle it.
Right.
You could end up with one, you could end up with two, that's up to you, whatever space there is. I don't see a problem with the monument sign where it is. Parking in the front yard, I don't see a problem with that, it matches everything. But we have more questions than answers, because what we're looking at is not what we're voting on. So,
Gentlemen, I'm a principal, may I join?
sure.
absolutely, step on up.
My name is John Van Proyen, I live at 13909 Lack Drive here in Cedar Lake, and I'm a principal with Mr. Weirs. When we met with the planning commission before, there's really three major topics we were dealing with that were concerns. One was the flooding in the background. Please know, Don's gonna drive that answer for us. And Don's answer is gonna determine where our western edge is, and there's no deviation from that. Perfectly fine, whatever constraints you wanna make to that.
No argument there.
We are with you. We understand that. I don't want to be in floodplain. Don made us, no, you can have plenty of floodplain, still have flood issues and not be in floodplain. We fully understand that. We are absolutely committed to not past the western edge or whatever Don determines. We originally came to you with two 10,000 proposed square foot buildings. We fully expect that they're going to be dramatically reduced. So we still know that we have a setback on Route 41. We are asking, obviously, for front parking, which will help us. We have a current barn in Sherrville right now. We have 7 employees. We don't have enough space even for 7 employees. So we know that a contractor that uses 2,000 square feet does regularly use 7+ parking spaces each and every business day. And so number one is, I think there were 3 major issues. Number one was the floodplain in the back. We are absolutely committing to do what the town asks on that. Number 2 was the screening, and with that plan of not touching anything in the back, we're really basically saying the screening that's already there probably is already sufficient, and we're basically asking them for that variance to say, you don't really need to do anything. You're going to be significantly far enough away from those residential zone properties that we really don't have an issue. And the number 3 issue that was really brought forward by the planning commission and the zoning board was just the number of tenants. We're committed to working with you on that, but we really need Don's answer to what the size of those buildings would be. If we're looking at 6,000 square foot buildings, and again, economically, I fully understand, Mr. Rakib, excuse me.
Go ahead, try it again.
Nick, apologize. But
Recubito.
Thank you. Jeff doesn't do anything half-baked. We're going to produce a very good-looking building up front. That's what's going to be seen from Route 41 first. Later on, we will duplicate that in the back. I understand that you can't vote on that and things like that, but you've got to look at who we are and what we do. Electric power solutions, the lighting and things like that, I know that's a major concern for this town. I fully understand that. That's his business. He's going to produce the thing you're going to say, I want you to duplicate what they did in electric power solutions. And so it's just we're pleading with you to understand we really have taken care of 2 of the 3 issues this evening. One is that the whole back western edge in terms of what you're asking for. Number 2 is the screening. We really don't think there's going to be an issue there, based on the fact that we really don't want to touch anything back there. If Don comes back and says, no, we have to touch something back there, then it's an open door, I think. The only thing that we can't resolve for you that I believe was brought forth before was what's the number of tenants? And we're just pleading with you to say, yes, we're gonna start with one building as soon as we possibly can. Growth, we've done it, we've had an excellent year here. We do fully intend to continue to grow. We're going to duplicate what we've got. I have no problem with you putting in there, say, no parking, no, all that stuff. It's who we are. We want to be a respected business. We want to be the person that you say, go to them for your electric work. We've been here in St. John, Cedar Lake for many years already. I hope that your building inspector would say, we like what they do.
Don't forget, along with the number of tenants, type of tenants. Type of
And there too, and so we're certainly willing to work with the town on that. Mr. Wilkening, you clearly indicated, I don't want retail. We don't want retail either.
That's gonna have its own checks and balances that you guys already have in place that's wrapped all around the parking, which we have more than an intention to bring, more than enough parking to that area, or to our property, to be able to take care of what we're looking for. And those are just pieces that we can't finalize at this point because we don't know enough about where we're gonna end up at.
Gotcha, I gotcha. I think perhaps the way this has gotten off track is because this shows up, voila. Breaking it up, to me, is, I anticipated seeing more, and we're actually seeing less.
And unfortunately, we're at the mercy of Don.
Yeah.
We're at the mercy.
And I talk to Don once a week about certain things, He's great about, as long as I'm texting him and it's a yes or no question, I get something right now. I didn't even think about asking about this.
Well, I was hoping to see something like this sooner though, too.
No, I understand. I guess we can't let our disappointments get in the way too much.
It's been a holiday week. We set up a meeting as fast as we could, and we've asked for everyone to participate as best as they possibly could. Ryan's made another conceptual idea, but we can only say it's just that because we're just waiting on answers. And unfortunately, I feel like what you're asking of us is completely out of our hands. We brought you everything that we possibly could, and we're asking for a deference on the things that we just plain can't answer for you, for many reasons. And it's not because we don't want to, it's because we don't want to be untruthful. We don't want to be, changing our minds as you've seen, or felt that we did just because, so much has changed.
I would say too, if we determine that this is okay, that it's not being, encroaching into this is the site plan we should be going with.
Yeah, I understand. And like Jeff said, we're kind of voting on a concept. And I'm really trying here.
Right.
I'm trying.
One of the things that came out of a previous request south of us with a large-sized garage was the fact that it was advertised one way, and then we had modified that request to reduce it. So what I had thought was getting something in writing in front of you this evening where it modified the request a little bit, so that way you had something in front of you. That's why this came to you. Less timely than I would have liked, but we had thought about it and schedules and... and that's why I wanted something in writing.
I understand.
For you guys.
But when we look stuff over, we got it in our heads and...
Right, and it was a last minute thing that that Ryan and I and Jeff were putting together so you would have something in front of you, and we were tweaking a little bit, and I was not sending it out early afternoon right before the meeting. I'd rather bring it to you at the meeting. So that way everyone got it at the same time.
And can I ask, so, you say conceptual plan. Now, if I guess, what would you be, like a finalized plan? Or?
No, it's, you guys were up here speaking, and the word conceptual was used.
Oh.
This is, right now, this is a conceptual picture. And-
Yeah,
and-
because
and-
we can't give a definitive answer on what Don's gonna tell us. And
Right.
we're asking for these things because my understanding is it's not, that our site plan is not something that is being requested to be voted on this evening. And that we should be able to still work with Don and come back with something that either you and or the Plain Commission are able to vote on once we have those answers, and can give you guys everything up front, and, you know.
I'm tired of beating around with this, but if you guys didn't have a contract on this property pending our approval, I just think this is crazy to split this stuff up, and I guarantee we would not do this if you guys did not have a contract and you already owned it. We wouldn't even be considering this.
We're still trying, I'd say either way, we're still trying to move things forward.
I understand you're trying to move forward, but
And you guys
like we've
asked
been
us to
talking,
come back.
we're getting less information now. We requested more
Let me
information
ask,
since
let me
last
ask
month.
another question. So, what, so should we, well, like, have a finalized plan?
Yeah, I want you guys here. I'm not
No,
against
no,
this
no, I
at
know,
all.
but
I
I'm
just
saying
want to make
without
that
these
clear, but
variances.
I wish you guys could have asked for all this stuff, because I was ready to act on all this tonight, but now there's stuff that we have no clue about here. So we're gonna plan a development here right on our main thoroughfare without all the, give a stamp of approval on certain things without having all the information. That's my personal opinion.
It's more the packaging.
I want you guys to get this done, but I wanna know everything that we're gonna have in front of us.
Is your intent to have 2,000 square foot units to rent out?
It's certainly possible. At this point, I'm not really sure how to address that, because I don't know what kind of buildings we're gonna end up with. We're
Well, I'm
talking.
trying to get to that point, because if you're gonna have 6,000 feet, which you had shown here, or 8,000, whatever it is, say, I think it's 8,000, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you're having 2,000, that's 4 tenants in the back building, and you're gonna have you and one other in the front.
Mhm.
Okay, if it's 6,000, you're gonna have 3 tenants in the back and one more up front with you, so that's 5.
Mhm.
So if we were to state that the rental property or the tenants would have no more than 2,000 square feet in a building, it would kind of lock you into a number of tenants and something that we would have in writing that we know about. So in other words, if you had to drop down, right now you can have 4 in the back, because you can keep it at 2,000. If you go down to 6,000, you can have 3 in the back, because you're using 2,000. Does that sound logical to you?
That sounds logical.
Okay.
I would state that my understanding of the zoning is that from originally, we would not have been held to a standard of how many people per square footage. But if that's what we need to do to appease both boards, we're here to figure out and make it work out. I mean, the B3 zoning applies a certain amount of square footage with parking spaces and potentially gives either us or anyone else granted that zoning appeal, I believe as you called it, the option to utilize all of B1, B2, and B3 zoning based on their size and the parking. And so from the beginning, we with our site plan and our ideas have been kind of put into a box from the beginning because of other developments in the area that have apparently rubbed the boards wrong, that we were going to be held to certain types within that zoning, which we had already expressed that we were not shooting for anything that was, that was my understanding of your guys' issues, along the corridor of 41 or, what have you, with both parking and tenant people. But again, if that's really what it comes down to, we will make that consolation.
I think what the issue was you get into B1, get into B2, you get into that retail arrangement. Then that starts to affect the parking spaces, just like your neighbors to the south and to the east. And then
Understood.
every gamut of stuff there, and that one business has to operate opposite hours of another business, so that parking is not affected. We don't want to get into that. We wanted something a little more laid out.
Parking,
Were we
my
not-
understanding is parking is based on the size of the building, correct? So I don't care if you have 10 tenants in that 8,000 square foot building or one, you still get the same amount of parking.
Yes, sir.
And
that-
some of the uses will change that. Some are
Well-
based on square footage, some are number of employees,
Okay, so if that type of business wants to come in, then,
then if they don't have enough parking, they
Then-
wouldn't be able
then
to
okay.
come in, or they'd have to come for another variance.
And
right,
it-
so I mean, so to me, the parking part is solved.
Your building size is your lot coverage.
Correct, and we're okay with parking in the front, we're okay with the monument signs, we're okay with the signs above the, doors of the buildings going in, because we had discussed that, and we said we were okay with it. We're okay with 2 buildings on that piece of property. I mean, I'm ready to vote on something.
The other checks and balances that your commissions and ordinances already have in place keep us to exactly what you're discussing. And we're not asking for anything hopefully out of the ordinary or special. We've laid out to you guys what our plan is. We're here and will continue to be here to follow each and every one of those, to a T, to make sure that this works for all of us. And at this point, we are here to figure out if this property is going to work for us or not. And if it's not, then, we've kind of spent a lot of time, all of us, and us, a significant cost on trying to figure this all out, for what ends up being kind of nothing for this property in a corridor. What we've heard from you guys that you're interested in us being able to do this. So we'd like to figure out a way to make this work. And I guess my understanding of what you had just laid out was that we shouldn't be held to a specific number. If for some reason, we don't even own this property yet. There's no way that I could tell you that we would have a company come in and say, we only want 1,500 square feet, and the guy next to him wants 4,000 square feet, and it all works out in the wash that we still have the same amount or less of the specific tenant amount that we've really been concerning ourselves with, when it has everything to do with the checks and balances of our parking, which we're trying to provide more than ample for less than, the B1, B2 zonings that has been shown to been really concerning of our property.
You will have to give us a number eventually, because of the fact that you're in a B3 zone property, because you're only allowed one business on that property.
Yeah,
And you can't just have people coming and going, and, 4 tenants this year and 6 tenants next year without coming to this board for approval.
And we understand
So we're clear.
that's that one we're requesting deferral on, correct?
Okay.
Because we just don't know
But we
where
just
we're
saw
gonna
this
end up.
tonight. What we looked at was B3 zoning district with multiple tenants in each building. That's what we have in our sheet. I think perhaps what Mr. Recupero had said earlier is a once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. And I think I'm worried about more little pieces being at the BZA.
I just don't think.
And I really would never want to see any more little pieces like this. And as John said, we told you we didn't have a big issue with 2 buildings, and I know you're gonna have to change the size. You don't want to sprinkle it, you have to have 2. Monument sign, the parking, I mean, we're good with that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just
Well, they want to defer to things that are in question here.
You're right,
We've all pretty much agreed on what they want us to vote on tonight.
Yeah.
And what to be deferred. So I think we're arguing about things that are gonna be deferred that we don't need to be arguing about tonight. I think we should move ahead and vote on what they wanna have approved tonight and go from there. I'm probably too trustworthy, because a man tells me something, I take him for his word. I've done contracts on a shake of a hand. And I'm not talking $2,000 or $3,000 contracts.
We're in business
So,
too.
you know, and you look to me like the person, if you shook my hand, you'd do what you said you were gonna do.
Because that's what my business is based on. I can contract all day, and the long and short of it is it's still a man's word. You know, it's gonna cost us more to try to track them down, and, you know, we're here to make this work. If we gotta make some calculations, then so be it, but again, my understanding was that we could at least try to ask for these few things, try to get a better understanding of where our direction is on this thing, short of the answers that we just don't have, and we're gonna do all that we can to try to bring you all pieces at once, to lay it all out and be able to move forward as best as we possibly can, once they're given to us, and we're just at the mercy right now of engineering.
Jill, go ahead.
No, that's kind of where I'm hung up, just I wish you guys had this Don thing, you know, covered. Then if you came with a full plan, here's the buildings, here's the people, here's all, I mean, it would be, I don't think any of this stuff would be tough, but I'm just not comfortable kind of coming in from the back door going, this is okay, that's okay, and we still don't know what the end result's gonna be based on this
We
environment.
had more of a plan last month, and this board deferred it. Now we have less of a plan, and we're talking about approving it, or making a motion.
We've changed everything.
Wait, what more have you given us? What more have you given us to make a decision here?
I'm not disagreeing with you, sir. We've had to change, we've had to change
But sir,
everything.
we've given you absolute confidence that we're not gonna create any sort of water issue. That was the major topic. We are absolutely committed to staying.
Have we seen that from the engineer? I haven't seen
You
that.
we put it in your motion or whatever, that we will be, our western edge will not infringe in any way, shape, or form.
We provided this re-sketch, which is exactly what the board had asked us to come back with another plan and to see us again and to give us a direction. We're here doing that. We're giving you less because we don't have all the answers, but we're giving you everything that we can because it was asked of us.
But I hate to say, but I really feel like we are giving what you did ask. You did ask for a complete answer about getting rid of concerns with floodplain and such.
We asked for the amount of tenants and what you were gonna exclude from it. Haven't gotten either of those tonight, have we? We asked for those, that talked about last month.
You know, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, because this has gotta stop. You brought us less, and you're asking for approvals of less. That's fair to say? You're asking for three.
In the process to move forward, unfortunately, because we're at the mercy of, you know, of engineering, a person from the board.
I'm not gonna speak for Mr. Austin, but, he has some phrases, you know, your timeline is not our timeline kind of thing. I do have a question though. Variance is still being requested, item 1. Deferred variance is requested, number 1. It's the same thing.
It was listing the item as it's listed on your agenda.
Okay.
And then that's the item in bold, under your deferral.
Yeah.
The item that, the request was for a deferral on the multiple tenants in each building.
I got it.
So right now, if you approve the 2 principal structures on a lot, they can't have multiple tenants in the building. And if they can only build 1 building, the 2 buildings, the other one would be the outbuilding that's there, that they're discussing. that would have 2 buildings on there. And that's
So,
why we
so
were.
this being modified after the agenda has been sent out, are we getting into a legal problem with this?
No, because they're not asking for anything that's not on your agenda.
Okay, I got you.
And that's how we did with Mr. Starcevich. And one of the things that I took away from that meeting was we didn't have anything in writing saying what those changes were. So I was trying to make sure, which this came after the agenda packet went out to you, that you had something in writing so it wasn't just all verbal up here tonight. So you had something you could reference while we were in the meeting. And these came out of the discussions that they had with staff. The 2 buildings would be dictated by your lot coverage. They can't build buildings that would take up more lot than they're allowed to, as far as square footage goes. And then the uses are still being worked on and how many, and I understand that with square footage.
And if we can we say in the motion, approval of multiple tenants to be determined at a later date? So it's not giving them carte blanche to put in 42 Bo's hot dog stands.
Absolutely.
That's actually the point I wanted to make, was that, as Mr. Van Groen said, the one concern was the drainage. That is going to be addressed. I think one of the other bigger concerns was the multi-tenants and the type of tenants. And to me, that's related to what we're asking deferral on. So there's still a check for, and that would be next month if we determine the engineering. That's why we're asking that deferral. So, you know, if we're fine with the 2 principal structures, if we're fine with the parking in the front yard setback, we're fine with the monument signage, those don't seem to be an issue, but you still have that check of, we have to come back before you next month and say, okay, we finally settled on, there's 2 6,000 square foot buildings, these are gonna be the number of tenants, or the number of units.
And there's a sincere apology about the piecemeal. I apologize, but
I understand, staff is always usually over the top helpful. I get it. They all do it 99% of the time.
However, what Ryan's set out for us is, you know, these things, especially the 2 principal structures and maybe equally as much the front parking, it has everything to do with us bringing back something that's real, and not another conceptual plan, and not another piecemeal, and not another what we hope and we think. If we know the direction of where we're going, we know the lines. We don't know our colors, we don't know the picture we're going to make, but we're laying out to you that we're going to draw something really, really nice, and we just need to find those definements, and then we can come back to you guys with something really solid. But we need these pieces to be able to know where those lines are.
And I asked earlier about boomerangs, because I'm having flashbacks from Cedar Lake Storage, which was too many visits here, way too many. Ryan and I briefly discussed how that kind of happened.
There's another one tonight, visit.
Let's not. Please, let's not. Please. If you guys got approvals for 2 out of 3 of these things, or all 3, if you did.
But, yeah.
Would you understand that coming back one more time?
I don't know, but.
I mean, coming back one more time would be much appreciated?
It would be?
It would be, yeah, it would be much, you understand, it would be much appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, and that's my plan is whatever the outcome of tonight is, okay, say theoretically, we get those 3. Next big step is Don, and we're that close to, okay, where's that line? So now I've got the 2 pieces, and so my schedule is, okay, then next month, we're back here in front of you for those remaining, because then we'll know the building sizes, or building size, say, hey, it's this square footage, this many tenants,
this much parking,
and the other
kinds of tenants.
Yeah.
And so theoretically, we'd like to wrap this up, if everything went smoothly, what would that be, January? January. Not July.
Bill, do we have anything from Don on this at all? I mean, there's nothing to report on because
No, I don't
it's
have.
minuscule.
I don't have a written report. It's what Ryan said.
I-
We're reviewing those
Yeah.
drainage numbers. This is the discussion we had with staff in determining that. And we thought it best coming back to you with these items, and the other ones need to be a little bit more refined in bringing back a fuller plan to you instead of saying, well, we may get 3, we may get 5 in each building. And those uses are determined by parking anyway. But bringing back that part, but if they're allowed to have the 2 buildings, at least they have something to start working with on their site plan. The parking in the front yard would be regardless, the monument sign would be regardless.
Yeah.
And I would say, so it's, you referenced.
We were just
here.
trying to be able to bring you more information,
Well,
That
Nick referenced it first, but
That one-
I can tell you that's like a tour in Kuwait.
Well, but that one, I
I know.
heard firsthand, there was a lot of, okay, well, we want to do this month, where this, I feel, Jeff knows what he wants to do. It's just, one, he needs these 3, and I think what Jill said, we need them regardless what direction we go. It's really, I mean, if we could, like I said, this could work, if Don and I said, okay, I don't see any effect, this is what we told him. And
So you're suggesting that what we're looking at can't get any bigger?
absolutely, in fact, I think it might get a little bit smaller. Without having any knowledge of this, that is my hope is that it is this, but we cannot get any bigger. That's what we came to you last month with, something bigger, and it got scaled down.
Is that the 8,000 square foot building? Because the other one says
Yes.
10,000. Which-
Yeah, our original plan was 10.5.
The dark one, the pretty one is 8.
The original ones were
Yeah, the
10.5
original
each,
probably.
and now we're down to 8,000, and it very well could end up being smaller than that.
It's not gonna get bigger, to your point,
And maybe the 4 of us feel a little different, knowing it can't get any bigger.
And Ryan and I have already discussed and played around with the parking on this plan that you have in front of you to figure out what else we can do, and we're restricted by, our closeness to the pond and things like that to be able to make the buildings and our parking and what else can we do to move things around, and we very well may have to change all of that based on where that line in the sand is with the drainage.
Size of your buildings is all determined by what
line
John
of sand.
tells you,
Yes, sir.
period. So there's no way you can say it's 8,000, 6,000, or 2,000 until Don tells you.
Well,
So until Don tells you something, you cannot determine several of these things that are on this sheet.
and I would say that it's gonna look very similar to this. The only difference is, it may squeeze a little bit. Buildings have to be
I
on,
agree, I agree.
engineering wise, it's,
I think this is good. I think we've got everything we need here, except we don't know the number of tenants. And we have to defer the multiple tenants. We can't vote on that tonight because we don't know, so we'd have to defer that. Then we'd have to defer,
The screening.
petitioners to utilize the natural buffer as a screening and to allow parking, no,
in the
I
screening.
threw my line wrong.
We want to defer, that probably is not going to be an issue, but because, to your point, it's not going to get bigger, it's not going to encroach into that area. So, we're just going to defer that, because I don't see that being a factor, because it's just going to it's going to be this size, or
Yeah, I don't want to get into the screening discussion, because we have a screening discussion numerous times of late on a particular piece of property. Because if something happens to all that and it dies, now there's no screening, and you're responsible for the screening. So if we waive it, we've screwed the neighbors.
And that's why we asked to defer, because we just don't know.
I understand. I'm saying either way, though.
So they, so.
Would you, if you waive that and and say the tree's got a tornado came through it, took it all down, by having that, I guess what we would waive, there would be a screen no matter what, so it's not like we're wanting to get out of it, it's just, it's either we're gonna use a natural one, and if the tornado went through, he'd have to put up another screening. It's just, as it's there, it's kind of a moot point.
Well, yeah, like you said, and
All right,
I understand.
You got
Go ahead.
two requests on here. First one is for a variance for two principal structures on a lot in a B3 zoning district. That's one. Let's don't muddle the work. Let's either approve or disapprove that one right now. Then we can move on to the next.
It's either that or they requested deferral.
If it gets denied, what's that do? That puts out for a whole year or no?
Yeah.
Basically, one building's permitted, so you're out for a year on two, or you have your pole mark.
He's got a barn out there already, right?
Yeah.
We'd have to tear that down, or?
Well,
No, because you're allowed one building.
Right.
if you wanted to do
Put that
that.
second one up.
Yeah.
So one would have to go. So that would-
Well, we're all in agreement on two buildings, you know, the only thing that's hard about that person being deferred would be the multiple tenants. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion, this is our decision.
The first one, John, is a use, which is the town,
Okay, I'd like to send a
recommendation.
favorable recommendation to the town to approve the petitioner's request to have two principal structures on a lot in a B3 zoning district. The multiple tenants part of this request will be deferred until the January BZA meeting per finding of facts.
Do we want to include an exhibit?
Of what?
An exhibit, so it can't get any, okay, forget it. That hurts.
All right, we've got a motion by John, a favorable recommendation to the town council. Do we have a second? Do we have a second on the favorable recommendation of the town council?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by John, seconded by Jerry to send a favorable recommendation of the town council to allow this variance of use for the petitioner to have two principal structures on a lot in a B3 zoning district, with the request to have multiple tenants in each building being deferred until the January 2022 BZA hearing per the findings of fact. You guys understand the motion?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Kupanos?
No. No. Stalls? It's a tie.
Aye.
It's a tie. Okay. So, there's either either entertain another motion, or you guys have to request a deferral.
Where does your two vote go? With the one we've already talked about, it's a non-affirmative, right?
Right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
so you have the option for me to entertain another motion to deny it, to send an unfavorable recommendation to the town council, or you request a deferral?
Yet, my understanding was that, were it not that all the board members voiced that you guys were for this?
I told you guys, I've been beating the drum all night, I don't like the way we're doing this. I don't think it's good governance. We don't live in a handshake world anymore, and I don't think the residents of the town agree that we should just be doing stuff on a handshake all the time.
And we're not, we brought to you the
Okay,
request.
I'm just telling you what the facts are, sir. This is what it is. It's either,
Mr. President, you're entertaining a motion?
I'm entertaining a motion, yes.
We'd like to,
Last chance.
we'd like to request a deferral.
Do you want, and would you be requesting a deferral for both items?
For which both items? We have three items.
All three items.
Well, there are actually two requests, a variance of use and a developmental variance.
For the,
Or do you want us to act on the other?
the monument and the parking in front.
Yes, yeah, you can choose not to defer that item, but I'm just asking if you wanted.
We need to know about the parking, and that changes what we do with the site plan, deferred or not.
Then we ask for a vote.
Both deferrals,
Uh,
both items, both
Or you want to
requests.
vote, you don't want to defer.
Yeah, I don't wanna defer on the front parking setback,
Okay,
or I don't think the sign's a real issue, but, we need to know, to be able to move forward, to try to do this in the manner that you're asking us for, we need to know really about the first, which is, now a 50-50 split, but we also need to know about the parking in the front setback.
okay, so we have two things. We were just deadlocked on a variance of use. So either your options are for me to entertain a motion to defer this, or to send it unfavorable. What would you like, defer that? Okay, so I have a request by the petitioner to defer this item. Do I have a motion?
Item one.
to defer? Item one, the use
Item one. I'll
variance.
make a motion, we defer the item for the two principal structures.
I'll second it.
Until next month?
Next meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
January 2022?
Or whenever Don's answer comes back.
Okay,
Yeah, hopefully the 22nd, and then
okay.
we should
And-
know.
And he's exactly right, if this is gonna get real involved, just, an email request for a deferral.
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Chairman,
Yeah,
I asked, Mr. Everly what a 2-2 vote does on a recommendation to town council. It's actually a no recommendation then to the town council, and
Okay,
you leave it up to the town council.
okay.
I'm sorry, I
Okay, no,
didn't know it,
appreciate
I've
that. I
never
didn't-
had one of
we-
those occur,
Yeah,
so
and having
it
four
would be-
members, yeah.
you voted on a favorable, but it came out neutral, so it's no recommendation then.
Okay, so that's finished then.
So, well, then you can't make another motion?
Well, per Robert's rules, I'm not sure you can. I'm not sure you can.
Bob sent it tonight.
Yeah. Bob's rules.
Robert, Bob?
We have,
I can phone a friend if you want me to ask. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be.
Well, no,
I think
I-
I think when all this, they could also defer the item. The council.
the council can. They've
The
deferred it
council
back to
could
us
defer it,
before.
They could send it back to you, or they could.
They could say,
Say yes.
yeah, they could. They have a lot of options.
They've done that before to us.
All right, so
So then down to item 2 and 3?
we're down to the second item, which is the developmental variance, so like I said, you can request a deferral, or you guys can let us do our thing and somebody can make a motion.
Explain the developmental variance, is that still based on the principal structures?
No, that's out of the way now. This would just be to allow your
Oh.
sign and your parking.
Yeah. We're fine with
Do it acting on this
Yeah.
tonight? Okay. So do we have a motion, on this developmental variance to allow, 1, the parking in the front yard, inside yard, and 2, 1 monument sign in the front yard, correct?
yes.
In the front yard setback.
I'm sorry?
In the front yard setback.
Is that what it shows listed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Monument
Sorry, Gary
signage
asked
in
you
the
that
front yard,
earlier.
Okay.
in
Yes,
the
it's
front
in
yard setback.
Okay.
In the front yard setback.
All right, thank you.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the monument sign in the front yard setback with the findings of fact. One time. I don't want any muddy water here.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve the monument sign. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Jerry, seconded by John, to approve this monument, a monument sign, 1 monument sign in the front yard setback. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening,
Yes.
Mr. Capora,
Yes.
Mr. Cupido.
No, motion carries 3-1. And now I'm looking for a motion on the parking.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion regarding parking in the front yard setback to approve with the findings of fact.
Are you gonna break it down front and side then, or is this all included front and side?
It's actually
It's
front and
front.
side, Mr. Wilson.
Uh,
Because the front is kind of front and side. I know.
Okay, parking in the front yard and the side yard with the findings of fact.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay, motion by Jerry, second by John to allow parking in the front and rear yard, or, I'm sorry, front and side yards to include the finding fact. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Kubica?
No. Well, no decision on that item. So,
And would be deferred to your next meeting,
based off of no decision?
based off no decision, since
Okay.
it's a developmental variance.
Okay, no entertaining any other motion?
You could.
Yeah. Would you guys want to defer this item to next?
We're gonna have to defer, we either need an okay or a defer.
Well, so we don't need to act on that, Joe? We don't need to act on the no decision, that just goes
The no
without
decision
saying?
based on what Attorney Austin has said at previous meetings was, it's automatically deferred
Okay.
to the next
But
meeting.
you gotta act
unless
on the
you wanna
buffer.
Act on something else.
Gotta act on the buffer.
We were asking for a deferral on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's deferred.
Well,
Oh, wait.
he's asking for it, John said we should vote on it, so.
Okay, gotcha, John.
Yeah. So, we have a motion, do we have a motion to defer the,
Yes, I make a motion that we defer, that item per the petitioner's request
okay.
to January.
I'll second it.
Motion by John, seconded by Jerry to defer the developmental variance for the natural buffer as screening until the January 2022 meeting. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Kubica?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. I guess we're gonna see you guys next month then.
So it was just the one deferral vote?
Yeah.
Covered all the, okay.
Well, I mean, you, everything on the developmental variance portion is deferred until next month.
Okay.
The variance of use, like Jill said, it's gonna be at, when's the next meeting, Jill? Or when will they hear this? Tuesday?
Right.
We'll be ready for that?
No, it was
Oh.
21st. They just had a meeting this Tuesday, so they're 2 weeks
Well, that's,
from this.
never mind.
Yeah.
Should I?
That's the council?
The town council
Yeah,
meeting?
December 21st.
They'll act
Yeah,
on
that's
the variance of use.
And they can grant a deferral?
They have bumped stuff back to us, they can approve, they can deny it, it's just a recommendation from us.
Yeah.
So, but the developmental variances that were deferred tonight, you would have to come see us next month in January, second Thursday for those. So, you have anything to add for this?
I just wanted to add, Mr. Everly sent me a note fax that if it's deadlocked at 2-2, then it's cleaner if they make a motion to send no recommendation to the council and vote on that, but the result is still the same, it's a no recommendation.
Okay,
So,
okay,
I just wanted to
yeah,
make sure I let you know the communication I have.
all right, thank you. I think we're all set here, guys. Thank you. The old business, the last item of old business is resolution number 2021-01, Board of Zoning Appeals Rules and Regulations.
Your rules and regulations are as they have been previously submitted to you, they're in your iPads.
Mine's dead.
Yes, it's mine. As the rules and regulations, there's been no additional changes to them.
It's okay.
The forms I
Thank
gave you after the October meeting, your attorney had said he would provide you comments, and I'm only reporting this because we had discussed this today. At your last meeting, Attorney Deutmeyer said we were going to get some comments from your attorney, but at this time, it's up to you if you want to act on that resolution or not.
Okay,
We were trying to get something implemented going forward,
right,
but it is a decision of the board.
okay.
And if I need Mr. Everly, I can reach out to him and he could connect in if we needed him
Okay.
on those rules and regs.
Well, I know we wanna get this done, everybody does, but Dave told us he would get us a report and the circumstances out of anyone's control, the reason why they're not here, but I'd value those.
Well, if he's got comments on it that we should know about, then we should wait on this. I'm all set to get this out of the way too, but, he might have a comment that's very important too. Which, based on that comment, I would think he would have made every effort to get it here.
Gary, Ray, where you guys at?
Yeah, gotta wait for Dave. I don't think he's been in the office much.
Right,
Alright,
that's kinda where it left off at.
okay, does anyone have a motion to defer this item until next month? Pending the attorney's review?
I'll make a motion, we defer this item for the attorney's review.
Second? Rick? Okay. All right, motion by Jerry, second by Ray to defer, pending the attorney's review. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening,
Yes.
Mr. Kapora,
Yes,
Mr. Zuda.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Any public comment?
Mr. President, I have a
Yeah.
question. On the last, you had at the end, it said that all developmental variances had been deferred, just to make sure the first one, the monument sign, did get approved and passed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
what did?
The monument sign, sorry. If you saw how much ink I put on this paper, you see why I got confused. Thanks for, let the record show that I was wrong. All right, do you have anything else, Ashley?
No, sir, I just wanted to make sure my record was correct.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. Jill, do you have
I
anything?
just had, one comment, going forward, we were anticipating the meetings continuing on the second Thursday of each month at 7 PM. I just wanna make sure everyone was still good with that,
Yeah.
only for advertising purposes,
You guys ever wanna
Me too.
get started earlier, so you can get finished earlier, or no?
9 o'clock in the morning's okay with me.
I'm good with an earlier start.
Is that even, I don't know.
I don't care what time it is.
The start time's not the problem.
Oh, I know,
It's
but-
the stop time.
Yeah.
It's an illusion, though, I'm trying to create.
It would be an illusion, all right.
I thought we were trucking right along, man, I'm like,
Yeah, we hit a wall.
yeah.
So,
I guess,
I
are
guess
we
that would be you.
are we off TV? Are we
no,
done?
no, this is
No,
public
you
comment.
would need to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You, all right. You guys have anything else, public comment?
No public comment.
No public comment, okay. Motion, meeting's adjourned at 10:12 PM.